Breaking barriers.
Hi, welcome to Breaking Barriers. It's so good to be back. We are without my co-host with the most, Dino Moore. He's out for tonight, and we have filling in for him, Jason Dutch. We're going to go by Dutch, I think, tonight, right? We're not going to say Jason.
That's fine. Hey, I'm on your show. Whatever you say. Call me
My
Jason.
mom used to say, don't. She used to say, call me anything, but don't call me late for dinner. She was like one of those Southern, like Paula Dean. Yeah, exactly.
That's definitely the same for me. I'm never late for dinner.
Well, we are super excited to have you here. As everyone who is big on Dig on America, they know that you are the lead person that runs all the shows around here. You have your own shows as well, most of the time on Wednesday. You also have the new show out, Left Angle. So it's always good to see the new stuff out. We were able to meet up with your co-hosts last week. So we're going to be talking about some of Dutch's.
I got to keep you guys apart. You two, you and Lindsay got together.
That's so true.
Look, if you guys didn't watch that, Kimberly got with Lindsay, turned on something with Kimberly because Kimberly was hot. There was fire coming off your head. It was amazing. I loved it.
I was like, I need to turn on the AC kind of moment because I could feel like, that sunburn feeling you get when you're like upset or you're like so fired up. I felt it. I was like, can they see my face getting red? So yeah, it was a moment. But you know what? That just means synchronicity. It was a great show, great time. So Lindsay's going to fit in perfectly over here on Dig on America. So what do we have for you guys tonight? And ladies and all of the peoples, we are going to be starting with hot topics just as we always do. But we just want anyone who may just be taking a break, grabbing a drink, getting some chips, whatever it is, to know what the topic of tonight that we'll be doing. So the topic of tonight that we'll be getting to after hot topics, the biggest one that we're going to be doing is Gen Z revolution. Is a new generation coming for Congress already? So we'll be talking about that, and we'll tell you why we brought that up. But having said that, hot topics tonight. We have 3. So we're going to lead off with the first one because it's the one I've talked about the most this week myself, all over many, many places, podcast guest, as well as Twitter Spaces, argued with people on Facebook, the spill. Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears. I feel like this conversation, we should have been having a different conversation tonight. But the conversation we're having tonight is that Tiffany Haddish is, not Tiffany Haddish, but the complaints against Tiffany Haddish have been dismissed by the people who brought them to be, which are the alleged now not so victims that filed the complaint. And Dino and I actually did pre-production on this earlier, so I know a little bit about how his view is. So I'm going to channel some of him tonight. But so for those that don't know what's going on, Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears, both comedians. Tiffany Haddish, reasonably much more famous than Aries Spears, obviously. For those that might have been on the rock or just off, under a rock or off social media that didn't know, some complainants came forward and filed complaints in a civil action lawsuit that said that Tiffany had put them in some positions with some videos. We're not going to go over all of it tonight, but saying basically there was some child abuse, that type of thing going on. Fast forward, Tiffany didn't say anything. She hired Prince Andrew's attorney and some of the attorney that covers sort of these types of cases. And we waited. We all had our thoughts. We saw the videos. We talked about it on this show. We've just waited. And then a couple days ago, the people who brought the complaint forth released a statement. They said, "My family and I have known Tiffany Haddish for many years, and we now know that she would never harm me or my brother or help anyone else do anything that could harm us." Now, the wording of this is interesting. We now know. So let's just break that down for a second. My family, mom, brother, sister, and I have known Tiffany for many years. So we've known her for many years. Now, this includes the mom going to Tiffany's birthday party last year and knowing her for a very long time. We now know that she would never harm me or my brother or anyone else or help anyone else to do anything that could harm us. We wish Tiffany the best and are glad that we can all put this behind us. Very different wording, Jason. I'm not sure your opinions on it, but very different wording than the complaint that was filed on this, which was a complaint that said that they were physically, mentally affected. They were going to need therapy for years to come. They had anxiety, depression due to what they said Miss Haddish had allegedly done. A lot of people, all the blogs, everything that you can find on this is calling this a payoff, that it's obvious. There's really no way to like look at it other than just within a week, it changes to, we now know, as if like the last, 10 years or so has not really been in play. And many people were saying that Tiffany had been where it was under extortion. So I feel like it's sort of a mix of things. It seems to me like they wanted to get her attention and say like, we want this money. We're going to go to the press. We did it. The funny thing is though, everyone's like, well, if she paid someone off, right? If we assume that, where'd she get the money? Because she's not worth but like $6-ish million. But the funny thing about that is Tiffany has some really connected friends. Kevin Hart, Ellen DeGeneres. There's a lot of people. Disney had a project that they had to put on hold this last week. So there's just a lot of factors at play. So I don't think we'll ever get down to the bottom of it. But what say you, Jason? Any thoughts?
This weekend I was gone. I was in Chicago. I had my 30-year reunion, and I paid zero attention to anything that was happening outside of hanging out with my mom and then going to see my old high school friends. And I liked it better that way. I want to go back.
Right.
I had not heard a thing about this story until Dino told me about it about 4 hours ago. So I did a little. So I was super new to it, and I was like, why the hell is anyone talking about Aries Spears? That was the first thing that I was like, well, he must have done something really bad or he died.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's when we talk about people who disappear or they're making some sort of ridiculous comeback. I'm not sure Aries Spears ever had come in the first place. I mean, I know who he is. He's recognizable enough. I'm not. I don't even really know that much about Tiffany Haddish, to be honest with you. I'm not sure that I could place a finger on. I'm not a guy who watches stand up.
Yeah, she's not really known for her stand-up. She's only had like one sort of couple things. Cat Williams actually called her out and said she's only known for sort of being a caricature of Black culture, of Black women. She's more known for her movies lately. Most notably, Girls Trip was the one that sort of lifted off the last couple of years. So that's probably
I
why.
probably have seen her in movies. I took a look to see who it was, like, because honestly, both of these, I knew who Aries Spears was. It seemed the funny thing is, you said Tiffany Haddish was more popular. I had only heard of Aries Spears previous to today. Now that doesn't mean I didn't see Tiffany. I mean, I see her picture. Obviously, she's recognizable. I don't remember the movies that I saw her in because maybe I kind of stay in the Marvel, Star Wars, DC area, with like stuff like The Matrix and stuff like that, sci-fi movies. If it's something that Tyler Perry made, maybe I might watch it. But like, so these people are new to me. So what I cared about when I looked at it at first was, obviously the alleged victims, because when people come out with an allegation, you are pretty much obligated, both as law enforcement and as a society and as the people who work with those with the people who were accused, as you have to take that seriously, right? Like, so you at least have to lend an open ear. sometimes those people are going to be bullshitting. And the problem with that is that it takes away from the real stuff. You know, people will swear up and down to this day that Christine Blasey Ford has the equal amount of credibility to the person who, you know, to the people who were suing Miss Haddish and Mr. Spears. And of course, Christine Blasey Ford, obviously the woman who alleged that Brett Kavanaugh had sexually assaulted her when they were in high school.
Mm.
And you know, we all remember how that went. Like, she was destroyed in the press, right? So and honestly, the so-called left-wing press didn't do a particularly good job of defending her. So I always worry that, like, you know, folks who are legitimate get grouped into the same group with these other folks who are not legitimate. You know, like we all remember the Duke lacrosse team.
Oh yeah.
And you know what happened with the young lady, the adult dancer, or the erotic dancer, or whatever she was, that had made those allegations about the Duke lacrosse team. And you know, so now anytime that you have you know, a woman of color who has a suit against a black man, you have certain people who go Duke lacrosse 2.0 or whatever. So
Yeah.
you know, you have to be able to dissect those things and stay away from it. The other thing that I noticed when I looked at the original story was that it talked about grooming. So that's like a new thing. Not to say grooming is new, but like people exposing grooming and stuff, and like there being some sort of social awareness
Well,
towards
like the
grooming.
buzzword.
Yeah, that's a newer thing um to my eye. And I worry when I see that, because generally, like, grooming is not new as a social concept. Like, that's been around for a while. But I worry when I see that, because usually when you see something about grooming, it's got to do with trans or homophobia, because
Well,
folks
no,
are
grooming
like,
is from pedophilia and narcissism. It's not about trans or homophobia. So grooming
no,
is about.
that's not what I'm saying. What I'm
Oh,
saying
okay.
is that people who are like all like usually on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, generally the more right-wing folks, when they're talking about grooming, they're talking about something different. They're
Oh, I
talking
see.
they think that a gay teacher is going to groom kids to be gay. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
see.
And like, it's um the pedophilia part of it is also that's like the legitimate grooming part, right? I'm talking about
Yeah.
this new style of grooming, where they're taking it and they're trying to making it into something else, and it stokes transphobia and it stokes homophobia, because these folks are using this term and equating it to anyone who might be an adult figure with a responsibility over a child, and that adult figure happens to be a part of a group that they don't trust. If Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely. I think that is where I got confused at what you were saying, but that totally makes sense. Um,
so that was my fear there. And then long story short, they like within a couple days, it looked like, backtracked, and they're like, oh no, now that we thought about it, they could never have done anything to hurt us. And then I never even saw Aries Spears' name listed in the first article that I read either, so I'm not even sure how he got involved with it.
so just for
But
the
you know,
playback and the listeners and for you, so that we can make sure that it's listed the way it came out. So the lawsuit was announced, and the the way that this has come out was all of this happened in 2013. So the oldest girl was 14, the younger boy was 7. So you have a really long time going on here. And then the movie actually came out, there's 2 videos, and that's why there's a lot of misinformation of what you're seeing right now, because there was kind of a lot of deep pushed everything down. Let's only show one video so we can kind of spin it. So there were two videos. The one is the one that everyone's seeing circulated that has the deniability for Tiffany Haddish, which is like, oh, I just dropped the little boy off at the beginning. I didn't know what the rest of the video was going to be like. That one was posted to Funny or Die in 2018. Funny or Die released a statement saying, we took the video down as soon as we saw it. We have nothing to do with that. It was disgusting. So we do not condone that. Then the mother had brought these allegations up for years. So this wasn't something new, not the mother, but different people had brought this up for years. And the kids were bringing it to the LA district attorney for the last week, asking for charges to be brought. They said their mother had nothing to do with it because people were saying your mom should have known. Tiffany Haddish met the girl's mom. They were at like a camp together. Tiffany met the mom, and she called her mom and said, I have the perfect role for your daughter. And the first video is actually the one that's not seen as much. That's the one Dino and I saw. That is the most disgusting one. There is no working around that one. There is no, I'm confused about what this is. That one is the one where Tiffany Haddish has this little girl at 14 playing Lady and the Tramp, and they have a food item, and they're performing like oral sex on it in the video and making moaning sounds. That's the nasty video too, obviously. The second video is in the eyes of a pedophile, is what they called it. Tiffany Haddish drops a little boy off. They have the little boy's clothes off. His legs are spread. He's making hand motions on a train. The music is playing I Don't See Nothing Wrong with a Little Bump and Grind by R. Kelly. It was clear what they were trying to get at. So in the lawsuit, it states that the daughter says she can't trust. She has anxiety. The son says anxiety, depression. Many people on Black Twitter, is what Black Twitter calls it. Black Twitter was all in uproar. Twitter itself was all uproar, asking why many more people were not talking about it. And they were like, I don't really care. I just saw the video. As soon as people saw that video with the girl, a lot of them were like, I'm disgusted. I don't care what you thought. You can't play it off as like it's in bad taste or you were younger or it was whatever. So that's what happened there. Tiffany stayed very quiet. And the day after these allegations were brought to a civil action suit, she hired the same attorney that works with all of the kind of like pedophile people, like Arnie Hammer. That's from the new documentary of all the things that he's been alleged of doing. Prince Andrew's attorney, everybody connected with Jeffrey Epstein's attorney. She hired that man who's known to get people settlements and out of that. The reason people have issue is that these two children stated in their paperwork that they were traumatized, and they didn't tell their mom because that was their mom's friend. The mom had no idea until of recent. So people are like, why did she let her kid around and blah, blah, blah. But the mom didn't know. And as a survivor myself, I never told my parents ever, until I was older. There's so many reasons why a victim won't. Now, I also have an ex-friend that claimed that a musician raped her. So yeah, it does happen. And he didn't, and he won a lawsuit against her. So that is obviously something we do know when we see that, and the Duke thing, as you know. But in this case, there was a Twitter space that I did, and I just listened to a lot what was going on as a host and just try to navigate it. I mean, you had so many survivors coming up and saying, like, you can tell in the wording and the usage and different things and other stuff where it was like, it's just because it's Tiffany, you guys are not calling it out. But if it was some other dude, or if it was just Aries Spears, y'all would be calling him out. Aries stayed very quiet. So there's just a lot of hearsay about people saying Tiffany made it go away. Because Aries, literally, the video that Dino gave you, Aries came out with the video a couple of days ago and said, I've been feeling like my career was going for a while. And he started crying. So it's just like, there were more people involved. There was somebody who shot the videos. There were people on the backside. All these little skits have producers and writers. It's not just Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears were just sitting in their like house one day and said, let's just do this video with this little girl. And then a year later, let's just do this little boy, the video with this little boy. There's a significant amount of time between these videos that's shot. So say someone did it, thought it was a bad idea. they still went and did another video. So I think that that plays into it, because there's just so much on the line for, there was so much on the line for Tiffany Haddish. She had a deal with Disney. She has been the it girl on so many films. So many comedians right now have their name attached to her. So many comedians that are working with her. So it's when you're talking to psychologists and you're talking to people that read the terminology of the court documents versus this very small statement, you have people that are saying, we're looking at court documents. They're in detail writing what happened in very specific detail, what happened to them. It fits the video. We see the videos, because I don't think Tiffany thought the videos were going to come out, or anybody did, because that was never a thing. The videos come out. The attorney that advised these two children is the same attorney that is kind of going to help, that's helping with the Nicki Minaj case, and then also with the T.I. and Tiny case, which they have alleged victims of assault against them. So you just start to see a pattern that everyone believes those victims of, a lot of people believe those victims of that situation, and that attorney is the one that advised and helped, figure out what they were going to do and bring these charges about. At the end of the day, the statement's out there. There's not much we can do. Say there's no conviction. There's nothing brought under the court of law or anything like that. It's just very sketchy. The first thing, when I told Dino about it, he was like, this doesn't make no damn sense. You don't go from saying this. I've seen people retract stories all the time. This is a payoff job. Like, you can just tell that at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense for those of us that sat for a good week and saw every video, every blog, every talk, both videos, because they are obviously not talking about the second video. A lot of people are just not. They don't want to speak of the video where Tiffany is performing fellatio like actions with this little girl who was 14 at the time and making moaning sounds and all of that. They just want to talk about the first one, so it can kind of be seen as like, oh, it was just a dumb skit and people make mistakes. So I think it remains to be seen. I think when people have skeletons in their closet, they ultimately come out. If they don't, that's all right too. So that's where we are on that. And yeah, I was going to tweet. That's what I was doing when you were talking. So I did hear you. I wanted to make sure that you didn't think I was not listening to you, because I was like, oh, he probably is like, what the hell is she doing over there? Her nails. So I was just going to tweet it out because we weren't connected at the top. So wanted Twitter to be in on that. If you guys have a comment to let us know of what you think about this whole flip-flop situation with Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears, please let us know in the comments of where you are watching us, whether it be Facebook, Twitch, wherever that may be. Jason, I'm going to let you have some final thoughts on this for a moment while I get my charger, and then I'll come back. I'll come right back over.
Sorry, muted. So on this particular topic, I guess you have an opportunity here to this. I had no idea about any of this stuff. So the best way to, at least for me, the best way to kind of try to develop an opinion on something when you don't know about it is to sort of take the temperature of what others are saying. So I've logged into Twitter and I'm just kind of, I just typed in Tiffany Haddish's name. And I'll share the screen with you guys here. Actually, let me move this over here. Oh, sorry. All right. So we'll share this. So this is what's going on Twitter. So basically, what I'm looking at here, as I see Kim is coming back into the stream here. There she is. Okay, Kim's back. So it seems that most people out here, and I'm kind of just going through the latest people who've been posting about this particular topic. Almost every single, first of all, it should be noted that almost every single person who's tweeting on this is a member of the Black community. I'm not even seeing any right wingers talking about this and using this as ammunition for anything at the moment. They probably haven't caught on to what's going on yet. But there's the overall arching theme here. It's going to be okay. Somebody's coming for you. I never really liked him, her, or Kevin Hart. I don't know what he's got to do with it. Lost everything, and then she's saying good. It seems to me that people are pretty sure that this person dropped the suit because of being paid off. That is, I mean, let's look at what some of the top ones are, because you can generally get a pretty good barometer by looking at that. Let's see if there's one here with any comments on it. Here we go. She's not elite. That's why she lost all her jobs. That family didn't have to take money at all. If she were elite, she would have never heard about it and she'd still have the jobs. Well, that's not necessarily false. Let's see if we can get anything meaty here. Oh yeah, Matt Gaetz, same charges. Let's not forget about that. Tiffany Haddish and Ari Spears originally said it's a shakedown. They said they would prove their innocence. Then later, Tiffany Haddish said she regretted her involvement in the sketch. Yeah, someone or they must have opened up their bags and cut a check. All they wanted for Christmas was the charges dropped. Tiffany and Ari's charges dropped with prejudice. I'm assuming that this is somebody against that as well. I don't believe for 1 second they're innocent. I think it's predominantly that she paid them hush money. That's there is no comments in defense of these folks. So why do I pull that up, as I mentioned before? Because I always find it to be, when you don't know what's going on with something, you kind of figure out what other people think. And then you say, okay, well, are these people, how are they connected to the situation? Are they politically motivated one way or the other? Is there some sort of group that they may all belong to that is pro or against the certain people? And I'm not seeing any of that would seem to be biased. It seems to me that the Black community is very, very pissed off about this, and that they're the ones that are doing most of the attacking, and they're the ones that are doing most of the paying attention to this.
As was in the beginning as well. So what you're seeing now is very indicative of the very first week. So a lot of people that spoke on this were within Tiffany's community. So I think that's important to note. And that doesn't mean that someone can't be a hater of hers, right? We need to acknowledge that as well. Some people hate people. I saw a lot of I've been praying for her downfall. Okay, she had some haters. One of the things that's interesting is they dismiss these charges with prejudice. With prejudice means that it really can't be brought up again. Without prejudice means that the defendant might be retried. So that's the difference. So when it says with prejudice, it means not likely that we'll ever bring charges on this ever again. But without prejudice means that it could be retried. So that's why the person was saying with prejudice, because they're trying to say it's never going to come up again, which I think further speaks to a paid off case, because the DA is going to know, everyone's going to know we're not coming back this direction again. So we can go ahead and make that, that judgment. So we could get into the ins and outs and the ups and downs as Dino and I did in that first show, but we just wanted to sort of hit on this topic tonight because it did come to, a conclusion. But we would, if you do want to hear more of our opinions of what Dino and I did talk about on this, you can go over to Dig on America on YouTube. And we did the Hot Topics on this weekend before last. And you can check when that hits. I believe it's up. I'm not sure if it's up, but we will. It will be up in the next little bit. So it's already up. Okay, cool. So it's up,
the YouTube goes up. The YouTube goes up immediately now. It used to not, but now it goes up. So we have Constance joining us on YouTube. What's up, Lamar? How you doing?
Hey, Constance. Hey, JD.
Awesome. So I think just kind of in closing on this, there's a lot of stand-up comedy that now I will say I am a person who believes that stand-up comedy should have a much wider lane for questionable behavior than normal conversation, right?
Yeah, that's what
Um,
Dino said. Just a,
uh,
a wider berth.
way wider lane, but not wide enough where you start to get into Creepiesville, right? Um,
Yeah.
and that goes for a lot of different topics. You know, there are certainly bright lines,
Yeah.
and when you are, it's okay to make fun of a situation that might be hurtful to someone to a degree, as long as it's not like personal about that person usually.
Yeah.
But when you are talking about, like, you know, it's no longer funny for someone to go. It might have used to have been funny to people, and maybe used to be more socially accepted by people. I hate saying that, but like, you shouldn't go around, you know, doing the old, talking about people with cognitive issues and doing the whole, you know, thing that people used to do,
Yeah.
and that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
because now we know better. We know better about pedophilia. We know better about mental illness. We know better about like mass shooters and stuff like that. There is, you know, not, some of that stuff is not funny. It's not funny to say, make, if a comedian to say something like, well, you know, I'll go shoot up a SCHOOL, you know, or something like that, because I was so mad I almost went and shot up a blah blah blah. You know, that it's not really funny anymore. Like, maybe there was a time 30 years ago when it would have got you laughs. And if you want to get mad that those days are over, that's on you. But that's
Yeah.
not, you know, but oh, I don't care. You know, it's there's a lot of stuff that we used to do as a society that's no longer funny. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, what is it? What movie is it? Is it 16 Candles? Where, like,
There's a lot.
every time every time they show the Asian guy, they play the gong. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like in those days, it got laughs.
Yeah.
But when I see that today, I'm like, it's not like I'm turning the movie off, but I'm like, man, could have done, you know, why do we have to do shit like that, right? Like,
I mean,
it's not
yeah,
funny
a
anymore.
lot of us are
So,
still even teaching our parents and even me, I'm still learning
mhm,
things right now. So I think it's very interesting, coming from my kids saying,
yeah,
Mom, you can't say that now. Nothing racist or anything too crazy, but just the
right.
wording of things. Like I heard the other day, like, you can't say grandfathered in. And I didn't know the history of that word. So I was like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
now I know where you can't use that word
There's so
anymore. So
many terms like peanut gallery you're not supposed to use, you know.
yeah,
Um, what's the paddy wagon is an old trope against Irish people.
right.
You know, and like, and I'll tell you who's gotten away with some shit, Kimberly. I don't know if you remember this one or not. Belle Biv DeVoe, why they are still not criticized for that line, backstage, underage, adolescent, how you doing, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Where's the heat for Belle Biv DeVoe?
I
You know,
mean, it's selective outrage that gets me. That's another thing about Tiffany Haddish. These videos came up, you have to put everything into context. And you've got that. No one really said much about it because it's like, oh, that's going to tarnish my childhood memory. And those are the glory days. I mean, a lot of people really lived out their teenage years as their only best years. Like, I'm 41 and I still see like the best time of my fucking life is to come. I think that some people just don't want you messing with the memory and the vibe and the feeling. When this all came out, one of the videos that Tiffany Haddish had resurfaced was, I'm paraphrasing, but she's basically on stage and she's like, "Oh, I be loving, bring your son to work day." I'm like, "Oh, you like older women? Call me when you're 16.
yeah,
That doesn't look good. That's not funny. That's stuff that you
that's
don't."
stuff she actually did.
Oh, that had already been done
Yeah.
the last
So
couple of years.
here's my, I didn't know that. Like I said, I didn't know who the fuck Tiffany Haddish was.
Right. Yeah.
I'm glad. I don't care. Like,
Of course.
all this Andrew Tate stuff that went off in the last few weeks. I didn't know who the fuck Andrew Tate was until
That's
after
the
all this.
the very like masculine dude, right?
Yeah,
YouTuber.
and honestly, like, I understand that we gotta attack these people, but what ends up also happening is, like, now I know who Tiffany Haddish and Andrew Tate are. I was fine not knowing who either of them were. I was
Yeah.
good.
I still don't know, but I know who Andrew Tate is. I saw some videos like on, Instagram that he used to post. I don't know what happened. So like I kind of stay out of a lot of that stuff too. So I'm gonna have to go check that out. I didn't know anything about. I saw something about, are we calling him out when the Tiffany Haddish thing happened? I didn't know what was going on with that though. So I'll definitely do some research and
Yeah,
maybe we'll
basically he's
circle
a
back.
massive pig.
Well, yeah, I knew that because the videos I
Yeah,
saw, he was about,
you know.
you need to be a man, be a man. Everybody wants to get jacked and be a man. And I was like, there's some definite insane masculinity stuff going on there. It was
Mhm.
giving me
It's
hard narcissist vibes.
it was the toxic. It's being a man is fine. I'm a man. I like to
Yeah,
act like a man. I like to go, I like to go to the gym. I like to play sports. I like man stuff.
right.
But if somebody doesn't, that's on them. But I got news for you, Andrew Tate. That's not what being a man is, you little bitch. How about that? Because guys like him, they are what they love to say. They're cucks. They're snowflakes and they're cucks because they talk about how tough they are and how much a man they are, and then they turn around and you say something to them and they get all offended. They're offended by the
Fragile
offense.
ego.
It's like
Yeah,
I've never seen bigger snowflakes than some of these people. And
fragile ego.
this
Ego.
doesn't have to be a right wing thing because I highly doubt Tiffany Haddish is on the right.
No, of course not. This is not a
So
political thing. Breaking
but
Barriers
this
always
is
isn't always political, of course.
but guess what? I don't care if you're on
Right.
the right or the left. Monsters are monsters. And that's the bottom
A good
line.
point. Yeah, I think in closing on this one, I just think, there's a lot of skeletons locked up in closets, and those they're definitely going to come out at some point. I don't know if it's going to be with Tiffany Haddish. Maybe she's going to move on and life will be great and do all of that stuff. Maybe she learned and whatever. I do hope that these two victims, this is what I'm going to end with here, as we always do. I do hope that these two alleged victims do get the help that they need if this did happen. And I do hope that the money brings some level of ability to live their life and to go forth. The younger boy is still a minor, and so I really hope that this is allowing them to at least move forward. And the rest of it, I don't think they're the last. Aries Spears, Tiffany Haddish. I think we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg on some of this. Whether it is the fake cancel culture where people are going to make up stuff, or it's the actual skeletons in people's closets, I think they're still going to start to come out. But hopefully, the message is going to be sent at some point that people will be held accountable. The only thing that I think this does, if this did happen, well, first of all, I'm getting messages here. People keep saying, stop saying if it did happen. We all saw the second video. Tiffany Haddish did the video. So technically, yes, the second
Mhm.
video is disgusting. Everyone, even Jason Lee, her BFF, was like, it was nasty. He was on YouTube Live acting like a fool the other night. I watched him. He's a YouTube blogger. And Jason, I mean, I doubt you'll ever see me, but dude, we all know why you're trying to hide stuff, because you got some little videos out there trying to kiss little underage boys
Mhm.
on Instagram. So we get that. So the thing is, I think that we do have to say, like, what some of us saw was not acceptable. And in this case, the sad part is it sends a bad message that victims just need to take the money, because nothing will ever happen if somebody in power is of a big level. So hopefully they get help
Right.
if that's what happened. But we do need to move on, because hot topics are supposed to be the least amount of what we spend time on. But this was a big one. So we do know that, it's important to talk about the things that people ask about. So having said that, we, talk about women, men, power plays, struggle plays, all of that. Another thing that happened, my daughter actually woke me up on this one. Not she didn't wake me up, but woke up and she woke me up talking about this. And she said, "Did you see what's going on in Iran?" And I said, "No, I didn't." And that's them coming in. So if the door gets loud, that's what's going on. I said, "No, I didn't. What's going on?" And she said, "There was a young woman, 22, that was killed in police custody, and due to protest, there's a lot of women shaving their head. So what happened was the president of Iran was supposed to sit down and do an interview with Christiane Amanpour, and he basically said, I need you to wear the hijab. Is that what you call it? Hijab?
Yeah.
The head wrap?
Yeah.
So he says, I need you to wear that because it's in, culturally, it's what is supposed to happen in our country. And, he knows about the protest. He mentioned, in light of the protest, I would like you to wear the hijab. This shit is so wild to me. Basically, she says, respectfully, no, this is New York, and I don't follow your rule or, observe that culture, and we're here in New York. So he says no. The tweet that she put out, it's long, so I would say go in and look at that. But she basically says, 40 minutes after the interview was scheduled to begin, an aide approached Amanpour, this is what the article says from CNN, and told her that Rassi was suggesting she wear a headscarf because it's the holy months of Muharram and Safar, she wrote. Sorry. Amanpour said she declined the request, explaining that we are in New York where there is no law or tradition regarding headscarves. She added that no other Iranian president has required that she wear a headscarf when she had interviewed them outside of Iran. He pretty much shunned her based on this. He refused it. And there's just a lot of different people that have said different stuff. But one of the tweets that I saw was from Rasha Al-Kidi, and she says, she's a journalist. She says, he knew that what you would ask. So basically she's saying, like, he knew what you were going to talk about, which is what happened and what's going on with the protest. And he just ran away, gaslighting you in the process, as cowardly men do. Like we were talking about Andrew Tate and all those things. This just comes down to cowardly behavior, as we're going to talk about the Russian minister here in a moment, as he also ran. So it just looks like a lot of people in power avoiding getting out of situations, gaslighting the public, gaslighting their fans, their followers, their culture. And so this whole situation over in Iran is just, it's just pretty insane. Not going to go too deep into it. Just a lot of people are protesting. I think up to 17 is what they're kind of reporting right now, unofficial. People have been killed in the protest. There have been many more injured. And it just goes to show that there's these uprisings that are happening all over the world right now, from George Floyd with us and Black Lives Matter to the women in Puerto Rico that were last year when I was there for my birthday, rising up for the violence against women. And then here in Iran, the violence against women. And then also in some of the African countries, Panama had some stuff, Colombia. So there's just it seems like an overtone globally that's going on where women are sort of rising up, and the men in power are not really doing much. We saw that with the WNBA player Brittany Griner and Putin. There are all these power plays with women, and it's really sad. And I think that this reporter, she spoke exactly what I would have spoken to, which is basically he gaslit you in the process to make it look like it, I'm not running from this interview. It's because you didn't observe my cultural thing. And if anyone doesn't know fully what I'm referring to in Iran, protests are sweeping Iran and women are burning their hijabs after the death last week of Mahsa Amini, following her arrest by the morality police. Human rights groups say at least 8, but it's moved up to 17, have been killed. Last night, when Christiane went to speak to, she was planning to speak to President Rassi about all of this. She said that this was her plan. This is what she was going to talk about. And she did let it be known. So he did, for those that might go, well, maybe he didn't know what she was going to ask. She did know. He did know, and she had made it known. So sad to see that happening on a global level. I don't know what your thoughts are, Jason.
I got lots. I'll try to keep them short. This isn't a Muslim problem. This is a male toxicity problem that's using religion as cover. These laws were written by men. They've been written by men across religions for many, many years in different ways.
Let's let Jason say that again. These laws were written by men
Right.
for years. I just want everybody
For
to just want
and
everybody to
when I
like hear
say
that again.
and when I say years, I mean thousands.
Thousands of
Okay.
years.
Read the Torah. Read, there's a clear male, though Hinduism is far more open to women in power than the Abrahamic faiths are. The Mahabharata also written by men. And there is patriarchal in structure within Hinduism, within Taoism, within Shinto, uh, pretty much you name a faith. There's a couple of Native American tribes and a couple of African tribes that are exempt from this, but for the most part, this is a religion problem. This is not an Islamic problem. It just so happens that in Iran, that particular government in Tehran happens to be very, very fundamentalist. You have other countries that are also fundamentalist, however, that are just as fundamentalist that you don't have this happening in. So that means it's not really a Muslim problem there. It's an Iran problem. Okay.
Right.
So you have two different things. You have an Iran problem that is a symptom of a male dominated religion problem. Okay. So this is on the people in Iran for taking it too far. But what I want to make sure that we are very, very clear about here is that because this is not a Muslim specific issue. This also has nothing to do with the people of Iran, because nobody has ever sat there and said that the Iranian government is some benevolent force. We know they're not.
Right.
Okay. Now, the fact that they hate America is not because they don't have the same feelings against New Zealand as they do against America, because America has been the one that has been oppressing them. So you have two different things that are true here at the same time. America and Europe have oppressed Iran and exploited them for oil. True fact. They have a reason not to like us, but they also have internal problems at the same time. Okay. And this young lady and the movement that has been started after her murder is going to have a similar effect to what we saw with George Floyd here in the United States at some point. Maybe not exactly the same, but it's going to run around the same track.
Right.
And the women who are brave enough to stand up, we know what's going to happen to them. It's not going to be fun.
No.
Right? They're going to be excommunicated from their homes. They're going to be spit on. Some of them are going to be beaten. Others will be arrested. A couple might even be killed. And and I can guarantee you that in almost all of those cases, it's going to be a man who does it. Now, like, men have a fucking problem. I'm sorry. This was the whole thing we talked about with Andrew Tate. I am a man. Okay. But so I can tell you that I know that there are male problems.
I'm glad that you have the Andrew Tate situation down, because I was lost on that. And I much rather.
I'm not an expert on it at all.
No, but I would much rather hear a man saying it to our followers and our listeners right now than me, because they would say, of course she's going to be a certain way. But I'm glad you're chiming in on this.
If Andrew Tate wants to find out how much of a man he is, come on, knock on my door, 9815 curtsy. Okay. So it's, but the problem is, like, you look at all of the mass shooters that we have, right? All the mass shooters that we have in this country. And
we have a lot of mass shooters.
Show me
4.
Yeah. Show me a woman. And I don't care if you're going to, even if you want to classify gang shootings as mass shootings, you can go ahead and do that. That's fine with me. Guess what? 98.5% of them are men. So why is it that almost every single mass shooter is a man? Why is it that almost every single oppressive law that is put in by an institution is put in by men? Why is it that every single religion has this structure, this hierarchical structure of God, country, man, everyone else? And then, of course, case systems in the middle there too. You know, I don't understand it. There's something in our DNA that that is, and I'm not saying like I'm immune to it. Believe me, I'm not. Like, it takes effort to not be an asshole sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, it's I have my own demons. I'm not perfect. But the point of the matter is that once if you're able to be honest about things and think critically about things, then you should be able to look at this situation in Iran and say, okay, because a lot of people are just going to look at it and say, "Oh, look at fucking Iran, man! Look at the terrorism there. They're killing people." They're, of course, like Republicans in the United States, they're going to take the women's side in this case because their goal is to
Yeah.
demonize the country, right? Because they
Oh,
want
man.
to tie Democrats to Iran, like we're best buddies. Obama gave them billions of dollars. They'll say he dropped pallets of money from the sky. All that is false. But the point is like they're so
always
Muslim scared that they will join us in this on the women's side, but do it to try to call us hypocrites on other stuff. So just be leery of that. But this whole thing with like the dad and like you know, all these people are saying, well, you know, just like I get the dad. A dad is trying, I get part of it. The dad's trying to protect his kids, right? You know, and it's like I had a conversation with my parents over the weekend about my daughter because my daughter works at a job that some people might call it unsavory. So I'm not going to dox her online, but some people would say, oh, you know, why does she do that? That particular job. And, you know, my parents think the place that she works at is an evil place. And I'm like, well, no, it's not evil. There's nothing evil about it. There might be bad people that go there, but the place by itself is not evil. But at the same time, it's reasonable for me to want to protect my daughter, but I have to be able to protect her while at the same time recognizing that, you know, she's independent. She can make her own choices for herself.
That's
right.
what we say. Yeah.
Right. And so I get what this dad says, like, hey, you know, just wear it during this because I don't want you nothing bad to happen to you. And unfortunately, something bad happened to her. So kind of the dad was right here. But
Yeah.
in that one sentence, right? But he shouldn't have been right.
Right.
And there are people who are going to say, well, he tried to save her. All she had to do was put it on and she would have been fine. I don't think anyone in America is going to say that, but over there in Iran, they will. No, the victim is never to blame for what happens to them. A woman is not to blame if she wears a skirt and a guy assaults her. You know, the victim is never, ever to blame.
I have this thing with my
Give me
son.
a break with this fucking responsibility shit.
Yeah, like I have this thing with my son. If a woman walked across the living room naked, because I lived in, you know, I grew up in this religious situation as an adult. And it was always like, oh, cover up and blame the woman and all that. It's so fucking bizarre to me. But here's the thing. I tried to tell my son, like, if a woman walks across the room and you see her as a sexual body, that's on you. Bodies are not sexual. Now, the engagement and what you build up to that is a whole different thing. But like, we have complete African tribes that walk around where the women do not wear clothes all day, and men are not just looking at them all day. Like, oh, I must have sex with you because you're walking around all day naked. That's not how that is. That's not the mindset of that. That is not how that goes. So innately, as a man, and the makeup of a man or woman or whatever the case may be, people can go, oh, well, as a man, their genetic makeup says that if they see a woman, no, that's a construct. a sexual construct that a body has been made sexualized because certain people don't see certain body parts as sexualized. And we all did different, everybody sees different. They're like, I'm an ass man, I'm a boob man, whatever. So I'm an eye man, I like some kneecaps. I really like those elbows, it just, whatever people, some people like feet, like some people are big into feet. If people can have a fetish around feet that is not a sexualized object or on a body part, appendage, I just don't buy into that. And I think that accountability must lie with the men on that one. So, I mean, we're going to move on, of course, but I'm with you on that. It's just, I'm not going to give my son excuses from the womb on, like, well, it's the women's fault. Fuck all that. No, my son better get his shit together when he sees somebody, and also better get his shit together. Not my particular son. He's good. I just want everybody to know that my son is not like this. He does not have to get his shit together. We're not over here struggling. But what I want to say is, if he was at this place, I would be like, you need to get your shit together, because you also have a sister. You have a mom, and a survivor, a mom that is a survivor of 2 assaults and abuse. So I just, where the men, just took it upon themselves to be whatever. It wasn't the men who abused me that blamed me, ironically, because they couldn't, because I was drugged. The 2 men that blamed me, the man who blamed me first was my husband. I ended up marrying the man who shamed me and blamed me for being assaulted. So it's a very conflicting, complex scenario that goes on when assaults happen. And it's all comes down to how we teach people about bodies and sexuality and sex and responsibility. So definitely want to dive deeper into that. That is a topic that's going to be coming up here on Breaking Barriers. We do have a couple of guests in line for that. And I just want to do a quick update here. So we're gonna bypass. We're gonna quickly skim over the Russian minister walking out of the UN today. But what I wanted to say is, we are building the show. So we've been having a lot of questions and different things on what is Breaking Barriers. Do you want guests on? Yeah, send us anybody that you want, that you think could have conversations back and forth. What Dino and I have been doing is we've been working on our branding, and we've been working on our structure, and we've been working here with the team at Dig on America to kind of figure out what our place is, what our vibe is. So as you see us each week, there's a little bit of difference. We're trying to try up new different things and see what works, what we feel like, what feels natural to us. So we thank you for being a part of this process. We thank you for your feedback, even the negative feedback, even you haters that you don't think I see your comments. All you're doing is making me want to jump on here more. So we end up having fucking like 5 days a week podcast. It's thanks to you, because you're making me want to come back. So I just wanted to let you guys know that we have a lot of things in store. We will be cross-promotion, cross-pollinating. We'll have Dutch on sometimes. We're going to be going on the Wednesday night show, which is called
Leftist Late Night, which is more of a joke than anything else. But yes, Leftist Late Night.
And you guys need to check that out. So that one's on Wednesdays. And we also have a huge lineup. We are going to start promoting this and putting the lineup. So please go to our Twitter, which is at Dig on America, so that you can see when people are having their shows. And we have many different people. You've met Lindsay last week. We have attorney Anna. We have Lauren Hubbard. We have Mikey that always in and out. You've got Dino. You got me. Who else do we have? Jason, I'm leaving someone else.
Who else we got? Big Hoss and Brett.
Big Hoss and Brett. So we have lots of personalities. Just want to make sure that the people that follow my Twitter and Dino's Facebook, it's not just Breaking Barriers that you're going to want to tune into, because there's so many conversations that are going to be had. And when we can't make it, so last week people were like, oh man, we can't make it. Just remember that there's other shows that are happening throughout the week. And so we will be posting those as well. And I'll be retweeting those shows regularly on my Twitter. And then you can find us on Twitch at Dig on America, correct?
Yes. If you're watching us on Twitter, come over and let us all see your comments and interact with us. Yeah. Field trip over to Twitch, or hey, you know what? If you're not a Twitchy person, come on YouTube.
Yeah.
Just go to youtube.com/Dig on America, twitch.tv/Dig on America, and then you can see your comments on the screen. Like Constance here. Who
Constance says y'all family.
Is nice to join us all the time. So this is she's not really my sister, but we're kind of brother and sister. We found out,
love that.
Kim and I. It's very we've we've got a lot in common.
I love that.
But yeah, it's this show is I think going to be and the beautiful thing about this show is this show was a Twitter space that I liked, and I was like, hey, do you guys want to do the Twitter space over here? And you guys have had what five or six shows now. So there's going to be some cross promotion with Twitter, and this show is going to be very, very big, very, very soon. I especially with all the work that you get, because honestly, you haven't even launched yet, right? Like you're still working on all the launch stuff. You're just doing a dry run here. Yeah.
Just kind of making it happen. And
right.
What's funny too about this story is I was not the original co-host. Dino had me as a speaker about twice in his Breaking Barriers. He didn't really have a regular co-host, so I didn't take anyone's spot or anything like that. But we connected so much. He gave me a call. He said, this Dig on America wants to do a podcast. And I didn't even know Dino very well at the time. We had just bonded over me being a best director of a 48-hour film project once upon a time when I thought that I wanted to do that. Only learned that I did not want to do that. Even though I won best director, learned I don't want to fucking direct movies. That was stressful as fuck. So I never decided, I was like, I'm out of that. So Dino runs those 48-hour film projects, and we connected on that. And then I had a talk with Jason, who I had to do my interview with. I had to jump through all the hoops and backflips and all that. It was a 3-hour interview. He kept me there, y'all. Like, I promise you, I don't talk that much. Y'all know I'm very quiet. So it wasn't me. Yeah. It was not me. Shaggy.
I kept saying, come on, don't you have anything to say?
Right? Like, you can never get me to say anything. So basically, we are just working some things out. Super excited.
I think it was 5, by the way.
It was. I was just not trying to make it sound that bizarre.
The first time that we talked, she called. So little secret. I forgot who called who, but like,
y'all don't tell anybody.
We talked, and whoever, I think she said, I'm not feeling well. I only have a few minutes. 5 hours later, I was like, I got to go.
It was. I believe you had to call it.
It was.
You had to be like, I gotta go.
Yeah, but it was a super deep conversation, and like that's what you're going to see here. So, I don't think you're going to see 5-hour podcasts, but but certainly she'll pack 5 hours of content into 2 or 2.5 or whatever it is that
Speaking of, we are going to do that right now. So last little point, we have we have the minister. Russia is doing the most. Okay.
Yeah.
They are on the extra struggle bus here. And basically, just to kind of minimize all this, the UN has their little meeting. The UN has their meeting. They have their meetups. And some of the other countries were speaking of holding a special tribunal kind of conference to talk about maybe punishing Russia for what they've seen done in the Ukraine war thus far. And the Russian minister just walked out. So again, here, this is just, men of power, gaslighting, ego, don't want to hear what's being said, don't want to be there for the truth. And so they just walk out. So that's kind of what happened there. There's not a lot really to talk deeper on this right now, because we have a bigger topic coming out on this for us. And I don't want to take tonight for that, because I want to get to this topic that I think is going to be funny as we get into the dive deeper into this with both Jason and Dutch and I. So I'll let Jason say anything he wants to say on the Russian minister walking out of that meeting, as he found out that they were going to possibly hold this tribunal council to see if there's anything they may want to do, if there's anything that they can do because of what they've seen happening. So any thoughts there? And then we'll move on to our main topic tonight, which is Gen Z revolution. Is a new generation coming for Congress already?
Yeah. So on the Russian thing, I mean, this is not really a story. Russia doesn't give a shit. We know that. They're in the middle of a Make Russia Great Again campaign.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise that they wouldn't want to hear their own collective a condemnation of themselves, right? So yeah, I guess they don't want to. That part of it I get. Like, you don't want to hear somebody bad mouthing your boys.
Yeah.
The guy walked out, so like that's not it, it is what it is. The important thing is that, you know, Ukraine is still under siege, right? And there's the Russian military is not doing all that great. Like these soldiers, it does not appear if the optics are not good, at least as far as how it looks from afar. You know, with a lot of these folks who are, you know, sending their kids off to war. There's protests in Russia, you know, all the time right now. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's they're
And there, did you see that some of the Russian members, I call them members because I just everything just comes off as like everybody's in a fucking cult over there. Russia, some of the people, the citizens are bailing. They're
Mhm.
leaving to like dodge this like possible draft that might happen. That they're just like, we don't want part of this. So even like
Yeah.
people in the country are just like, no thanks. So yeah,
Yeah, I could speak for hours on Russia. I'm not going to.
we'll
But
have you back on when we talk
there is a
about that.
Twitter army that loves defending Russia. Loves it. And they're
Yeah,
lunatics. And it's a
yeah.
weird mix of MAGA Republicans and far left like DSA people. It's the weirdest shit.
It's yeah,
Um
it's definitely back and forth. The tweeters is what my mom calls it. She just got a Twitter so she could listen to
the
my Twitter
tweeters.
spaces, and she has found a newfound love because every time people see her in the space, they call her out. She doesn't come up and talk or anything, but she feels famous. She's like, oh my gosh, no, you know, they called me out. They said they saw me. It's like she has like one of those Sharon, you know, last name 1 2 3 4 5s, and she has no profile photo. Like she's totally hilariously my mother. But if you thought about it, you'd be like, can't you get your mom a profile photo? But she's in Arkansas. So when I see her next, we're going to hook that up for anybody who's asking about that.
Get her.
But
Get her.
moving on to the biggest topic of tonight, and you know, it's one that I think we do need to have the conversation. It needs to be a bigger conversation on large levels as statistics and case studies and all kinds of things start coming out about the elections and the primaries and the primaries and the B befores and all that. I think it's really important that we understand that there is a movement, and it's not just one within the Gen Z movement. As those of us before, like myself, I've made a lot of tweets over the years, last couple of years, like, oh, my kids are showing me that Gen Z are super liberal and they are about to bring an army down on anyone who's Trump and this and that. The numbers are starting to shift. You've got UC Berkeley, who's doing some that have been doing some interviews. You've got some other colleges that have been doing them. There's a lot of different things that have been talked about, and they're very interesting. So the one I'm going to bring up right now is we've got Karoline Leavitt. Okay, she's 25. She is a Republican. She was an aide under former Trump aide. She assisted the press secretary. She's very speaks highly of the press secretary, who used to brief Trump before the press conferences, communication director for Congress. And she also assisted Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, House Republican chairwoman. She ran under
Elise Stefanik.
Sorry, Stefanik. Sorry about that. And from time to time, just disclaimer for anyone watching or hearing the playback, I do have some neurological issues because of a spinal cord surgery. So I will probably mispronounce names and just general words, but we'll get it right. She also ran under Trump's America's First agenda, if anyone knows about that going on, talking about the election integrity. So in her acceptance speech, which Dino had, I don't know if you have that one, but Dino had it ready. So I don't think we have that.
He didn't send me an acceptance speech. He sent me, although I can find that if you'd like. He
No, I
sent
think
me a
it's
video
fine.
from he sent me a video, and it's rather long, but
Yeah,
I don't mind playing it. So let's play it. Because
I believe it's
have
her acceptance speech.
the one that he sent me is an interview from about 7 months ago where she was on a local TV station. She
Oh
was
yeah,
still
no,
running. She was
he didn't
still
want you
running
to
at the
say that.
time.
Yeah, he wanted
Okay.
you just to see what was going on. So okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
let's get her. I can get her acceptance speech.
So
Hold on.
while Jason's finding the acceptance speech, I'll just speak on this. So this is in New Hampshire, y'all. Okay, I just want to point this out because I've seen definitely commentary on it all day. This is not in Tennessee. This is not in Georgia. This is not, when people go there like, oh, all those southern states, elect these Republicans. No, this is in New Hampshire. She's 25. She's the youngest Gen Z candidate. She's going to be running up against the Democratic candidate, Chris Pappas, in November. So this is what she said when she won, and we'll get that. She says, the quote that we pulled of hers. She said, we were outspent, but we were not outworked. Why is that important? Why that's important is because she really ran on this campaign that she was able to get boots on the ground in New Hampshire. She was able to have all of these rallies that were supported by Trump supporters and people who were like, if we can't have Trump, then we're going to make a new generation of people that we can get into office. So all of these older people, yes, they went out and voted for her. But aside from that, she had one of the highest numbers of Gen Z, her age group, coming out to vote for her. And you didn't see it on the internet. So one of the biggest misleading things that we see, and I think this is a talk that we have to have, and Dino and I were talking about this earlier, and I've been preaching this since I made this mistake. You can see Gen Zers. It's great to see Gen Zers posting. My daughter's really big at this. She is posting, she is organizing, she's doing the rallies. But when it comes time to vote, the Gen Zers that are even Republican, that tend to vote, that tend to have more liberal ideas, they are more in line with the Republican Party. They say, I'm not going to leave the Republican Party. So as we get this pulled up, I'm going to read you a statement that was pulled over from 538, which was a study that they had done out of UCLA. And you've got Mac Bear, he's 24. Matthew C, he's 22. Luke T, 22. Mac Bear supports same-sex marriage, right? That's liberal. Matthew C backs marijuana, legalization and decriminalization. Luke T is solid pro-abortion, pro-choice. They all said, John Hankey, 20, says he believes that climate change is happening and that humans are playing a role. So they all believe in this. So at first blush, right, we believe that these people that were, their families are Republican, they were on that right-wing side, they're seeing it, they are more aligned with democratic values. This is what the trend is becoming. They are aligned with democratic values. But when asked, are you progressive? No. Will you vote for a Democratic candidate? No. All four voted for former President Donald Trump in 2020. And they also, the ones that could, voted in 2016. And they said that they would also vote for him again in 2024. They say that they do not believe that they will leave the GOP. They have no desire to do that. They will try to do their work within the GOP. They will try to get candidates that are a little bit more liberal in the GOP, or if they have to, they will go with right wing, but they will not do that. They also said in the UCLA study, Republicans in this generation are far more likely to take what they call libertarian approaches to social issues like same-sex marriage. And the surveys have shown that these young Republicans are more likely to care about cancel culture than the electorate as a whole. They are also overwhelmingly white and male, the voters. But despite being more liberal on social issues than older Republicans, most of the young Republicans that were spoke with in these studies across the country admitted that they don't see themselves ever leaving the GOP. And if Trump runs for president in 2024 and wins the party's primary, most also said that they would vote for him again. Even so, many of them are not too far behind their Democratic peers on a number of social issues. To wrap this up, according to polling analysis as well as interviews with these young voters. So what does that mean? The biggest gaps between Gen Z Republicans and Democrats are not on social issues. It's how they view issues of economic and foreign policy. As for many Republicans, that's what's going to be driving their support for GOP. So let me repeat this for anybody who feels safe, because you made that mistake with Trump the first time. Nobody's ever going to vote for Trump. He's a reality star. He does not, support all these progressive thoughts. Okay, AOC does, and all of these people, right? The biggest gaps between Gen Z Republicans and Democrats are not social issues. So everything that we're seeing across the internet, everything that I'm proud of seeing, the things that they're voting on sometimes, that's not what's driving Republican voters that are of the Gen Z group. It is the economic and foreign policy. So when they are going to go vote, they're going to vote along those lines. And so far, those polls are, and surveys and case studies are supporting that they are going to stick with the GOP. Why am I bringing this up? Because we need to have this conversation. We need to have a conversation of how to get more information out there and what do we need. And Dutch, I know you're going to jump into this hardcore and I'm ready for it. What do we need to be sending as a message to these younger groups that are a little bit more online in performative activism, but not showing up to the polls? We barely beat Biden, barely. And I'm not one of those people that gets super excited that Biden won, because someone like Trump was barely, I mean, my ego could get the best of me and I could be like, oh, I just want to talk about progressive-ness.
We barely beat Trump is what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So I just want to bring up this topic and then go to the acceptance speech and show you what the candidates, this is what we're seeing as a trend. Do your homework, look it up. The older Republican GOP said, okay, we get it. We have some younger people, and they're wanting more progressive type views and different things. And we saw what happened with AOC. Republicans are very good. They're like a narcissist. Narcissists go to therapy to hear how normal people speak so that they look like normal people, right? So the Republicans, they always like to say, what is working for the Democratic Party? We don't want to be them, but what's working? What was the movement part? And that is young people like AOC looked like your normal person and got behind people. Okay, what was not working? People didn't really appreciate that she didn't seem like she was a worker. She was trying to put her lipstick on. She couldn't find her locker. She seemed silly. Okay, we're going to do both. We're going to get the young Gen Zer, and then we're going to make her sound like she's really put together, which she is. She's really put together. She's educated. But take a listen. This is what we're up against.
Yeah. So let's play this here. This is rather long. So I started it right where she's walking up to the stage. But I guess what we'll do is, maybe if it's all right with you, Kimberly, we'll do this dig style like we do on Leftist Late Night, and we'll just yell out pause, and we'll pause this at certain times. So
perfect.
It appears that this is going to be about 18 minutes. So here we go.
Pause. Okay. Do you see some words that sound very familiar to Bernie's campaign and Progressive's campaign? Homegrown, grassroots campaign. I just want to pick. That's the first thing I wanted to point out.
And that's not her. That's not new, right? So
no, it's not new.
Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert were the first to do this.
Yep. They're constantly pulling this out.
Yeah. And there is no question to anyone who pays attention that Lauren Boebert is trying to be the right-wing version of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah.
That she's got, the only difference between Lauren Boebert and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is that Lauren Boebert is ran a failing restaurant and married her sexual abuser husband, and cares only about and got famous for yelling at Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah, exactly.
Where AOC,
we have several of these coming up. It's not just her. Like,
no, you do.
To this woman.
You do, but it shouldn't be lost on people, though, that like they both have one thing in common: they're pretty young girls, right? They're not girls; they're pretty young women.
Well, they all are. Like, but you can see the Republican template. So
the Republicans,
you're right.
They love the idea that Republican women are beautiful, and liberal women are their idea of what is like tomboyish. Like, you always see the girl with the skull cap on, is with the glasses going like that. They love that meme. But it should be pointed out, though, for anyone who maybe does not know, AOC is very, very highly educated and very, very bright. She is not intellectually on the same level as Lauren Boebert is. Lauren Boebert fights on culture wars. AOC fights on policy. So big difference there. I don't agree with everything AOC does. I think she should do more stuff. But the point is, this woman is a little bit more refined than what Lauren Boebert is on the exterior. But being a guy who hears the undertones, let's play this again.
Wow. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the bottom of my heart. More than 1 year ago, I got into this race with no name recognition, no money, but a passion and a drive to fight for my home state of New Hampshire against the socialist Democrats who are destroying our country.
Okay. Red Scare already? You're not even 45 seconds in.
Also,
And she's
can we start with no name? Okay, wait
Yeah.
a minute. I thought you were you were literally like one person away from Trump. No money. Like, again, Trump supporters.
Her parents own car dealerships.
Right. No money? Okay. But continue, sorry.
And she worked for, was it which press secretary did she work for?
Stefan,
the first one, was it the first one or the second one? Okay.
Second one.
I don't like to say either of their names. The one who's running for governor of Arkansas, whose opponent we will have on shortly. Okay, so let's but yeah, the Red Scare right away. It should also be noted, as she says media there, she was literally a local newscaster.
Washington establishment and the Democrats.
Another word there, the establishment, something the progressives have been talking about for a long time. So
Democrats certainly counted us out. They said I was too young, we could never raise the money to compete, and that we could never beat a former Republican nominee. Over the last year, we were outspent, but we were not outworked. No.
I wonder why that could be. How can you beat someone who has more money than you do? How could you do this? How did AOC do it? How did Ilhan Omar do it? Mm-hmm. They were both outspent. But the issue was that they grew a grassroots coalition.
Grassroots.
Yeah, they had some backing. They got a little bit of social media cred. You know, obviously you got to have some help somewhere along the line. But AOC, she did it against a longtime incumbent, super conservative Democrat by basically pushing on two things: getting money out of politics and universal health care. Things that resonate with voters. Turns out those things are popular.
Right.
Okay. And the fact that that the incumbents and most of the establishment Democrats will say they'll campaign and say, "Oh yeah, I really wish we had living wage. Yeah, we really wish we had green energy. We really wish we had no money in politics." Well, they really won't say that third one. I lied. And they'll say, "Well, we really do need to fix the healthcare system." But they don't actually vote for any of this stuff because they're too in line with their donors. So what's the difference between what she's doing, what's her campaign, what made it popular, and what made AOC's popular? Listen to this as we go through it and tell me how much. I haven't heard this before. I'm willing to make a bet. Tell me how much. Let's see how many policy ideas does she bring compared to culture issues, culture war issues in this debate. I swear my daughter's eyeballs, I've never seen this particular speech.
No way. And tonight, our hard work has truly paid off. Tonight, Team Karoline, we smashed expectations. Tonight, Team Karoline, we defied the odds. And tonight, Team Karoline, we are sending a strong and clear message to the Washington, DC establishment and our Democrat opponents that our votes cannot be bought. Our conservative voices cannot be silenced. And the future of our beautiful, great, live free or die state is ours. It's about one thing: stopping the radical Biden, Pelosi, Papist, socialist agenda in its tracks that has been ripping off hardworking families like yours and mine every single day.
Can you explain to me what this radical agenda is? I'd love to hear it.
What's interesting to me is I feel like I'm listening to like an AOC or a Bernie speech just put into a right-wing conspiracy. It's them against us. Because I've heard this word with Democrats. I've heard this word with progressives that are, you can't buy our votes, right? So getting, like you said, getting money out of the White House. So she's borrowing from that. You can't buy our votes. Hardworking people. AOC spoke on that. She ran on that. She had many, she was literally a working basic living wage worker when she got elected. She didn't even have the money to get to Congress for her rent. So they're borrowing the exact same template. That's my perspective, because they keep saying hardworking people, you can't buy our votes. And this narrative, they're changing the narrative that Biden, and she's smart here because what she does is she aligns Biden, Pelosi with her running mate that's Democratic locally. So the reason I'm going to mention this, and I know you're going to go into some other stuff here, Dutch, but the reason I mention this is because we have to be more aware of what these candidates are doing on all sides, Democratic, Libertarian, whatever it is. You have to listen to the psychology of what they're speaking. So when they speak something like you can't buy our votes, all of that, and then she has help, okay? She has help. She is speaking in a very well put together. Some people that are going to be like trolls on Twitter are going to be like, I don't think she's speaking intelligently, or I don't think no, she has well put together points. Dino said she sounds like she has her shit together. As someone who's a progressive himself. The thing is that she's borrowing from points that have worked with younger generations. And she's going further in the psychological battle by putting her running opponent in November in the category with Biden and Pelosi, which a lot of people in New Hampshire are not polling happy with. So it's a psychological game as well. And if you believe that she has all of this, she's a fucking unicorn dropped from the sky that's intelligent, has no money, hardworking, has never had anything, had to fight for everything, just came up with all of this on her own, then you're crazy. She does have help. There's a lot of shit, a lot of strings being pulled behind the scenes. I called her earlier to Dino, kind of the Manchurian candidate, because she looks like she has been posed and poised to fit an agenda. And then I'm going to throw this over to Dutch after saying this. This is not the only person we're seeing this with. I know you brought up Lauren earlier, but there are many people across the country that they're already starting these campaigns and putting these people in campaigns where they're going with the candidate that is running, and they're 18 years old, they're 19 years old. Like, please look this up, educate yourselves. They're Republican, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds. They're getting them ready. They're grooming them to step in place of these local and like larger congressional seats so that they can start saying, okay, y'all weren't wanting to vote for the old white men anymore. We got you. We're going to start grooming these candidates to start putting them in. And that's what I feel nobody wants to pay attention to. People just want to bitch about the right wing all the time. They want to bitch about what she looks like, what she sounds like. But we don't want to bitch about that they are getting some things right from the standpoint that she won, and these things are working. And I will always end with, the Republicans always have a long game. And if you don't pay attention, then you end up with Trumps. Jason, I know you got a big other opinion.
Well, I mean, I echo pretty much what you said there. I mean, I know that she raised $1.5 million during the primary to beat Chris Pappas. That much I know. I'm trying as she's looking here to figure out where that came from, and I'll I'll find it out in a minute. But this particular woman is not part of the group that you had aforementioned, right? Like she's super staunch pro-life. She's super staunch, like anti-mask, anti-vax. She's super staunch.
She's not. But the people voting don't care. The people I spoke of earlier are not running, but they made it clear that they would vote for a Trump again. They would vote for a GOP candidate again. So it doesn't matter if their political views align on social issues, the mask, the things that you just spoke on. Those are social issues. They care about the economic and the foreign policy, and that's where she does align with them.
But she also what I think maybe I spoke past you then. This particular woman is pro-life.
Right.
She's not pro-choice.
Right.
She's anti-mask.
Right.
They love that. So like she's not like an example of the voter that we were the Gen Z voter. She's more of an example of like a Marjorie Taylor Greene type of candidate. Maybe not quite as, Jewish space lasers are going to kill us all type of thing.
No, what I'm saying is the studies that I read, Dutch, they were saying they are pro-choice. They are pro-marijuana. They are pro all of
pro-marijuana, yes. Yeah.
But if they have to vote, they're going to vote.
Who's they?
Push that out. All of the polling of the Gen Z Republican voters that they've been polling, that they've been doing, UCLA was doing the studies with, all of that, because the reason that they came up with these is because it's the same thing I've seen for years, the last 3 years primarily. When you go on Twitter, you have a whole army of people that just don't want to hear it. They're like, la, 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 la. Nope. I've seen a bunch of Gen Zers and all they care about is just changing the world. I wanted to believe that because my kids are in that. But I'm telling you, the Republicans have a long game. And when you're talking about these people that are polled and they're saying, if given the choice, we would align with the foreign and economic policy before we will the pro-life or pro-choice. So again, they can believe social issues are different than her. But right now, if they say they're looking at her and they go, what's your foreign policy and what's your economical plan? And she says, I want to get people out of it. Then they have this mentality that if people have better economical resources, they don't need to choose. They won't be getting pregnant. Like fucking that doesn't happen. They don't need to choose. There's not going to be issues like that. They don't believe in the vaccinations because that's not going to be an issue. They don't have to, the anti-mask being an issue because they're going to be foreign policies going to be put in place and economic policies. They're ignorant to those policies, and that's what they're voting on. They don't know what they're voting on. Yeah, so she's going to tell them what they want to hear, and they're going to ignore that she's pro-life and they're pro-choice. That's what they were getting at.
I see what you're saying. So, here's the weird part about that, and this is where I would be interested to study that study, because we cover campaigns on Dig on America. Like I have talked to 70 candidates this election, that's going back a little over a year. And in talking with, in looking, all the candidates we've talked to have been Democrats, but you look at the campaign of the folks that they're running against, and like when you look at foreign policy and economic policy, it's really difficult for me to figure out how Joe Biden's economic policy and Donald Trump's economic policy is different, because they seem the same to me.
But you're trying to look at it. These people are not. So
but that's the thing, is like, if you watch this girl's video, if somebody were to come to me, some Gen Zer, a millennial, a Gen Xer like myself, I don't care who, and you're gonna come to me and say, well, I like her policy. We're gonna finish watching this. Again, I'll bet dollars to donuts she doesn't even mention any policy. She's gonna say Democrat, bad; radical, socialist, bad; election integrity, bad.
But they don't vote on knowledge. They vote on the party lines. That's not changing. We have no proof that they're shifting. And the reason I say that is because there's this woman, okay? This happened to me just 3 months back. So I'm not going to say her name, but she follows me on Instagram now. So I'm on the plane from Texas and I'm flying here. And so I'm on the plane. I'm talking to the woman next to me. She asked me, like, why'd you move to California? And I'm telling her, like, you know, I can deal with Texas, talk about the politics. We get into this whole conversation. She's a Gen Zer. We're talking about this stuff. And she's, you know, like, yeah, like exactly what I watched with my kids' friends. She's like, I didn't get out and vote last time and I felt stupid about it. Now I'm going to go vote. I was like, yes. So we're talking heavily on this voting situation. So I say, you can follow me at Dear Kimberly K on Instagram. So I say it out loud. And there was a woman in front of us that had a MAGA hat, a young lady. And she was about 28 years old. So we saw the hat. I saw some eye rolls of people, a collective, like, and she's younger. So she's maybe Gen Z millennial age-ish. She's right on this cusp. So I get off the plane and I'm literally in the car driving home. And I see this Instagram message and it says, hi, Kim. This is, we'll call her Marin. This is Marin. And I felt so embarrassed on the plane and obnoxious because I had my MAGA hat on. And I knew where your thoughts were, you know, with what you believe. And so I didn't want to approach you, but your story seemed so empowering. You seem like such an empowering person. I just wanted you to know that you inspired me. If you ever want to get coffee, let me know. We don't have to talk any politics. And so I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like, let me go see what she's about. There was just something that was like, let me just go see. So I met up with her for coffee. It's on my Instagram. It's there. The story's there. I met up with her. I start finding out what she's here for. And she pretty much tells me the entire internal campaign, the entire thing that she's here for. And she works as the person that is out putting the campaign together here in California for the Trump campaign, for the campaign of telling people that the election was rigged, that the election, she's there educating people on election fraud in every part of the state. They pay her a ridiculous amount of money. And she's like 26 years old. She loves her job. She's all about it,
Is
right?
she really, really good looking?
No, she's just a normal, average type person.
Oh,
So I'm talking with.
That's surprising. Okay.
Well, hold on. I have autism. My range, I wouldn't know that. So
okay.
let's rewind that. I was going to say, I don't know. I'm not sure I don't have an ability to kind of range that. So basically, I talked to her and she tells me a lot. She opens up about a lot of stuff and she's probably going to see this because she's on Twitter and she knows this is true. She says a lot of what we allow to get out, a lot of what we see, that's allowed to be out there, you don't actually see. A lot of things are done behind the scenes. There's a lot of psychological work. There's a lot of work done in these youth groups. And I follow her on Instagram. I am seeing massive floods of these people going to get all of these Gen Zers, 17, 18, 19, 20. They're having these big Christian rallies. It's all for Republicans. And this is here in San Diego. And they're massively organizing. And they're not planning for this election. I actually went because I was like, let me go. She invited me. So I went. I was very shocked. They were not planning for this election. Every speech that they gave, they didn't allow for videos and things like that. They had like a really like lockdown. Some people have been able to get into these things. But I was like listening. They weren't planning for this election. They were planning for the next election. They were like, get your friends. These are the groups. This is the Discord channel. This was very highly organized. I was just like, I'm not saying that this is perfect. I'm not saying that we have to be super scared of them. But I am saying that we have to be cautious that we do not turn a blind eye to the organization of these groups. Because as someone who runs protests, retreats, policyholders, and these like group talks on Black Lives Matter in my own communities, highly organized, peaceful protests, I can tell you, and a part of the Mormon church that's highly organized when it comes to social things, this was highly organized. And the mentality that they have is we are generationally Republican. You do not vote against your grandmother, your grandfather, your aunt, your uncle, your church. Like, it doesn't matter. We're okay. You got some gay friends? Cool. You might even be gay. That's cool. But I literally was there and there were gay couples there. In here in San Diego, there were gay couples that vote for Trump. There were gay couples that vote for all of these other things because they're told, we're not going to take your wedding away. We're not going to take your rights away. There's a lot of things going on that we don't actually see. If you're not willing to sit and go to these things and you only see kind of, I understand that you're saying that you're talking to people and they're Democratic candidates and you're seeing the other races. But if you're not at 70 of these events and looking at the psychology that's going on and these massive groups of people that I was able to see, that's where I switched. If you look back at the other podcast that I told you about when we met, you see a very different Kim that would defend this all day long and would say, you don't have to worry about that because this is this, and they don't know about policy. They don't care about that. It's the wording they say. They just say, I'm just going to follow the Republican policy because they're going to be better for the economy. They don't know anything. So they're not comparing. Right. You, Dutch, you're intelligent. You are minded enough to say, I want to look and I don't see much difference. They don't care though, but this is where it harms us. If you're telling me that you don't see much difference in Biden and Trump's economic policy or foreign policy, you don't see much, then guess what? These kids go, if I don't see enough that's going to sway me to believe that Biden could do some magic, then I'm going to stick with Trump and I'm going to stick with my family lines and I'm going to stick with my religion and I'm going to stick with the GOP. If there's nothing magic to make a movement of sorts, then they're just not interested. So they're ranking those two things, policy, economic and policy, foreign policy, above any social. And then you have on the other side, people who align with us, the social. We put people first. In the regards of the pro-life and pro-choice and standard wages, living wages, and bigger things and Social Security and all the things. So that's what I was seeing. So I'm not saying that, I'm not here to fear monger. I'm just wanting to just get it out that this is what I witnessed. And we're seeing these types of campaigns pop all up all over. And the thing that I know best in the work that I've done over 10 years, especially when I've gone up against politician men that are of these levels that think they have it all figured out, that are running, and my ex-husband's one of them, I just say, we'll just sit and wait. And we'll just sit and wait. I mean, I can't prove it to you until we sit and wait. And Trump was a big sit and wait. I kept telling people, I had so many people around me that were like, nobody will ever vote for Trump. That's not going to happen. They did not, they went to sleep early. They're just like, They didn't even watch the election. Massive groups of people in my Discord channel, my Facebook groups, they didn't even think it was going to be possible. They woke up the next day and I just saw nothing but like cry emojis and I can't believe this. So we should learn. Like it's that whole Maya Angelou. Once you know better, you got to do better. So we got to do better this time around and get ahead of that. That was my point. Long tangent.
No, that's fine, dude. And I totally get that. And like what you said sounds right. The part that maybe I'm just too rational of a person to wrap my head around it. But if you like, we're creating you sort of created a base point for like this new millennial conservative, right? Now, obviously there's a spectrum of their beliefs. We're not painting every single one of them as this one monolithic person, but but it seems that the idea of, at least with the study that you were talking about,
these were studies.
They created these
sites.
Studies. They created a sort of like atypical millennial voter using statistics to say to define them, to define the attribute.
They were actual events and stuff. Like these are college events.
No. I'm talking about the two different things here. So like the event is one thing. I'm talking about your earlier statement where you were talking about like the study that's what I mean. That sort of like outlined.
UCLA had events. So they didn't just have people in studies. They had people come to these events and they asked them publicly. Now they couldn't film them, but they asked them publicly to state things. And it wasn't a survey. It wasn't like a fill this out. It was like, it was there. It was like, we want to know what's going on. They would go. So
repeat for us again, what was like because if I think I heard you right, you said they were basically pro-life. They were okay with same-sex marriage. They were basically pro-choice.
Some of them.
Right.
So how it works is I was listing off some of I didn't want to list everybody's name. It's a whole, you have to pull up a whole document, right?
Sure.
One of the guys says, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-choice. But
Right.
everything else, GOP, I believe in. So if I have to sacrifice that one thing, I'm fine. One guy is pro marijuana, but he believes that the GOP is going to get on board with marijuana in the coming
I
years. So
see.
there's no.
Okay.
One guy is pro same-sex marriage, and he doesn't
Right.
believe that the Supreme Court would ever change that. So there's nothing that they found would make them change, and
Right.
they align with the policy and the economics. So they're going to stay with the GOP.
This makes more sense then, because I had thought that what I heard you say, and that's my fault,
Sorry.
was that the atypical millennial conservative is largely pro-choice, largely
you thought it was all
pro
of them.
same-sex marriage, and largely, pro all these other Democrat social issues thing. They just like the economics of the conservative platform better. But when you look at the conservative platform and you look at the Democrat platform and you actually juxtapose those things and you compare them to each other, right? And I realize juxtapose and compare are not exactly the same thing, but I'm talking about two different things at the same time here. So if you compare them, you're like, not too different, but very different on same-sex marriage, very different on pro-choice. Then I would think that voter would say, okay, maybe I would slightly prefer the lower taxes, but I'm good with paying 2% more to get pro-choice, to get same-sex marriage, to get, whatever other social
No,
issue.
a lot of their answers, what I'm seeing is this, again, I go back to the psychological way of looking at it. What I was seeing as the pattern there was, we're not putting the person first. So we don't care as much about the pro-life situation, the pro-choice, if it means that the economy, if many people can be benefited. So we don't care about this. They see it as this one person, right? It's very hard sometimes for these people that have one issue, like, oh, I don't think that same-sex marriage thing should be a thing anymore. They're not going to give up voting for the GOP because, again, like I said, they don't believe that it's going to be reversed. They're being told by their parents, their pastors, whoever, we're not going to do that. Don't worry about that. Just keep voting for the GOP. We're not going to do that. We'll never do that. Or one of them is pro-choice because maybe he had a girlfriend that had to get an abortion one time and they hid it. You never know. But they're just not making the choice based on people first. They're making it based on policy, which is regurgitated because they don't even know it. But I will say that from what I watched, they are educating in their way. So it sounds very educated. They have the numbers. So this rally thing that I watched, they make it sound like we can play more of this.
Yeah,
They make it sound like what she's doing.
Let's hear more of what this lunatic has to say.
Yeah.
What's the listener is an anti-white?
Our Democrat opponent, Chris Pappas, is an expert at the typical Washington, D.C. political game, pledging to be for one thing.
Is someone trolling her in the back? It sounds like. Did you hear that?
I'm trying to figure it. She said something about anti-white.
Yeah,
So
let me see if we can hear that again. Let's go back a few seconds.
Yeah.
White.
I almost got it there. 2 more seconds.
This upcoming election in November is about one thing: stopping the radical Biden, Pelosi, Pappas socialist agenda in its tracks that has been ripping off hardworking families like yours and mine every single day.
Okay, here it is.
What's the listener is an anti-white?
Socialists are just anti-white.
Oh, is that okay? Is that what he said? You have good ears. All right.
Yeah.
Our Democrat opponent, Chris Pappas,
So a little white nationalism thrown in there. Why not?
Good job.
is an expert at
And notice she didn't push back on it at all.
the typical Washington, D.C. political game, pledging to be for one thing, but voting for another. Chris Pappas has campaigned his entire political career as a moderate, bipartisan voice for our district.
Okay, well, that's bullshit because Chris Pappas voted with the Republican Party over 93% of the time. So explain to me how that's moderate.
But he has voted as a far-left socialist Democrat. Today, we had the worst market day since the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, with inflation at a chilling 8.3%.
Is that so? Well, did you know that the United States inflation rate is is actually lower than the inflation rate in the UK. It's
Did you
only
did you
about
expect her to give facts, Dutch?
no, of course not. I can only think of let me think. What's a country run by someone right wing? Oh, Erdogan, Erdogan, however you say it in
Erdogan?
Turkey. Yeah,
Erdogan.
fucking conservative, Islamicist, but very very conservative. 74% inflation. I wonder what about the most communist country? What's their inflation rate? Oh, that's right. China's at 3%. Now, maybe they're lying and it's 6%, but still not Turkey.
This economic crisis is a direct result of the policies that Chris Pappas has consistently supported.
Okay, well, that's actually true, but that's because Chris Pappas supported Republican policy 93 point something percent of the time. So thank you for
Right.
telling the truth
Also,
for once.
it sounds like someone's booing. I don't know if they're booing what she's saying as in like support of like boo
I can't
them,
tell. Or they're booing Pappas.
or they're booing
Yeah.
Pat. And also, I think we're going to need to listen to the person in the background, because if they're booing her, they could have said socialist or not anti-white. Like he could have shouted that out, or they are.
It's
They
that's
are. They
that's
aren't.
possible. That's
You know, so
possible, though.
let's
I would have
see.
thought if he would have said something like that,
I would have heard some
I would have
bullshit.
thought she would have said people would have yelled at him, and she
Exactly.
would have said, "Get him out of here, you social." She would have had something to say. So I don't know that. That would be my bet. So
It sounds like,
you know,
yeah, it sounds like there's booing of the what he's doing. So I guess we'll listen
Yeah,
to more in the background.
let's see.
Voting to steal trillions and trillions of our tax dollars over the past 2 years alone. And how did Chris Pappas and the Democrats promise to fix their manufactured economic crisis? By spending more of our money, raising our taxes, and hiring 87,000 IRS agents to intrude on our small businesses. To that we say, hell no.
So what's your plan? I think she's about to tell us her plan.
That is
hope.
not the American or the New Hampshire way. As
Oh,
your
well, tell us
Hampshire
what
way.
is. I can't wait to
What
hear
is
it.
the fucking New Hampshire way?
Congresswoman, I will fight to stop the socialist spending sprees by voting no. I will fight to not spend 87,000 new IRS agents to look into your bank accounts, but I will vote for 87,000 new United States Border Patrol.
I knew, God, I could have predicted that line was coming. And first of all, I agree with you on the IRS, Karoline, for the most part, though that's not the reason why they're
Well,
hiring.
you don't agree with Karoline. You agree with who's groomed her, because she
Yeah.
didn't come up with that shit.
Grooming comes back into the show. The reason why they've hired, I didn't think it was 87,000, but I'll pretend she's right. The reason why they're hiring, I think she's amalgamating state level, like the California IRS, revenue service,
Yeah.
the New Hampshire revenue service. I think she's amalgamating the state agencies too, but nonetheless, the reason why they're hiring so many IRS workers is because under COVID, they fell so far behind that they're still processing a lot of the paper returns from 2020. And they need to get those processed. And in order to do that, you need people. And in order to get people, you have to hire people. And the last I checked, that lowers the unemployment rate, which I thought you wanted. But I don't know. What do I know?
Patrol agents that will secure our southern border and help our New Hampshire law enforcement community and the fentanyl invasion.
Oh my God. Here we go again.
Another
So, okay,
culture war
I just have to
topic.
get this one thing out, because I look like her, technically. Just in
No, you do
theory.
not. No,
No.
you do
Just
not.
in just like the structure is all we're going with, right? So this thing is where I get super fucking annoyed. Like, I'm so done with let me throw, I don't know if she's attractive to people, and I'm not gonna judge that. That's not my.
No,
that's not
she's a beautiful
yeah,
woman.
that's not
I'm
something
saying
I
she's
want to.
not. Yeah.
No,
who
no, and I
cares?
didn't think you were. So I'm not going to have a theory on what they choose or not. I know that they put pretty women in place over there. But the thing is that I don't know why this has become, Candace Owen does this. I don't know why people do not see through well, I couldn't become famous over here, so I'm going to become famous this way. I'm going to be I'm the woke right-wing millennial Gen Zer. So they've got AOC and they've got people over there, and their voices are being heard. And I'm going to stand for the white blonde-haired Karen girl that's 25, and I don't get a voice. And they have memes around the internet about me, and they talk about what I look like and what I say. And they have black girl magic, and I can't talk about white girl magic, and I can't do all of that. So I'm going to stand up and I'm going to say, hell no, you can't take our money and our hardworking jobs, and you can't tell us that we're not cool and that we're not able to be so proud of who the fuck we are too. It's so fucking fake. Like, it's so fucking fake to me. And I'm 41 years old. I've seen a lot of bullshit in my life. I do not fucking subscribe to it. I'm allergic to fucking bullshit. And when I see this shit, they look like this. She has the blonde hair. I have the blonde hair, which I'm fixing tomorrow. But the thing is that it's like, why do people not see this? You don't see, was it called grandstanding? Is that what it's called? Grandstanding? The whole
Yeah.
we just stand up here and say, let me give you every fucking talking point that's going to make me popular with you. We saw it like in elections in high school. We all saw people like go, I'm running for student council. I'm going to put more sugary drinks and Coca-Cola and Dr. Peppers in the fucking vending machines, and I'm going to have 15 minutes more of lunch. Okay. They just said whatever they needed to say to be cool. That was it. And I'm going to make sure we don't do any homework. And all of these dumbasses were like, hell yeah, I'm voting for you, because that means no homework. That means I get more sugary drinks. That means I can get my Skittles. I'm voting for you. And then what the fuck happened? Nothing. Because the teachers went, you are not going to be able to tell me I can't give you homework. You are not going to be able to tell the vending companies that they're going to put more Dr. Pepper in. I don't care what kind of bubble, puff paint signs you put around the fucking place and who told you were student class president. So what's wild to me is that we don't see this as an act. We've seen enough of these people, and they get up there and they speak very well and they look like her. She had every talking point. And again, I go back to the psychology of campaigns because that's what I worked in. So and strangely enough, I worked on Republican campaigns. So that's what I did. And I feel about that, but that's what I did. The thing is that this is what they do.
You monster.
So yeah. Oh my God. And I got 2 mayors elected in my hometown. Like, Jesus Christ, man. But the thing is, what's crazy is, you said it, Dutch. She made a comment and you said, how would I not know she would say that? That is what I'm getting at. It's almost like we have already heard this. I am not shocked by anything. Throw the migrant workers in, throw the border wall in, throw that you need more people at the border patrol. We don't want you looking at your taxes. Throw more of these buzzwords in. At what point does anybody start saying, okay, how do we start fighting that? Like, we're going to listen to the rest of this. I get that. But what's pissing me off is our side. I'm the person that gets mad at our side. Why is there not someone, and maybe there is someone, but why is there not someone who's going, let's analyze down the psychology and the methodology of what they're able to accomplish, and let's fucking figure that out? Because I am old enough to remember, and I don't care what y'all say, when the Patriots were spying on all these other teams and fucking looking in the playbooks and had cameras at practice and all that.
Deflategate.
Deflategate. And like all that shady shit they were doing. I see you, Tom. Why are we not doing the same thing and saying, let's look into their campaigns. Let's see why the fuck they have the same methodology. We have so many people that we could pay. You got therapists, you got psychological analysts, you got FBI, you got profilers. Why cannot people say, okay, you know what? The Republican side just figured out a way to get some of their people to get on board with shit. Why can't we do that? That's what bothers me. We don't really have this big ass movement. And I don't care if people want to say that Bernie didn't have one. He fucking did. Because I saw a lot of people around me that would never vote for someone like Bernie get the fuck up, get out of their houses, and show up on those polls. So he made some movement happen. I don't exactly know what it's all about fully enough to say it because I didn't get into all of that. I was just a part of it. But why can we not break it down, see what they're doing, pick it apart. Do we need to hire NBA coaches? Do we need to hire NFL coaches to watch the tapes and rewind them back and say, this is what they're doing? Because Dutch, you just sat there and said, I knew she was going to say that. Okay, if we know what they're going to do, why are we not 2 steps ahead? Because it does seem like they are about the long game and we are falling behind. That's what it feels like to me. What do you think?
I think you're not wrong. Let's see what else she has to say here.
That is plaguing our state. Chris Pappas, Joe Biden, and Nancy Pelosi are for open borders, lawlessness, and disrespect towards our police.
Are we now? I
It's
could have
always funny
sworn
to find out what we believe from someone else.
Yeah, these are the same people who were just saying we should attack FBI agents on Trump on Truth Social. Give me a
Truth
fucking
Social,
break.
yeah.
You know, and like you think does she really think that Nancy Pelosi is anti-police? I mean, does she actually think that Nancy Pelosi is anti-police officer?
Does she actually
Where-
believe anything she's saying? It's so
What-
easy for them just to be a mouthpiece.
I really want to know what Nancy Pelosi has ever said anti-police. I'd be astonished to hear if it was anything other than the most milquetoast comments. But
I
will
mean,
this
I
view
can't.
work
Yeah,
here?
I can't.
Oh, it will work. This works too. Let's try
Yeah.
this one. I like this view.
Nice.
As your congresswoman, I will fight to shut down our border, stand for law and order, and be a loud and proud voice for our men and women.
This is going to be a big cheer here because she said, I'm going to shut down the border. In other words, we ain't letting none of them brownies in, is what she's basically saying. So
And she
fuck
also
this
said
monster
loud and
bitch.
proud. Again, loud and proud, which is a very big statement from progressive Black people of color, marginalized communities that always rally together. They really, gay communities, they speak on being loud and proud. So they're borrowing this terminology again to pull
Like
over
the Proud
people.
Boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she's very. I'm sure she loves the Proud Boys. She's probably sleeping with a couple of them. Well, I don't care. I'm not sex shaming her. She can sleep with whoever she wants.
Yeah, I was
I'm
like
not a kink shamer, but
I'm
whatever.
like, we're not them. We're not them.
No.
We can let,
Hey, she can sleep with who she can sleep with all the Proud Boys she wants. But you know what? At the end of the day, you're around these people because they are just as hateful as you are. But anyway,
But can I make one comment though?
yeah.
The woman that I met with, she gave me her personal story. And her personal story was so fucked up from family, dad, Christian pastor dad, all of this stuff. It was so easy for me to see why she is in this. She lives, a lot of these personalities live for the attention and the I need to redeem myself from something that I had. So when I was listening to this woman, she's 26, 27, you know, I'm considerably older than her. She's talking to me and she's telling me, I found the Lord again and I found the Republican Party again. I was very, very progressive. I was very progressive at my younger age and I made a lot of mistakes. And this is what we see a lot of with the Christianity and all of that. You get these girls, these women that are born, they're raised up in this religion, and then they go out and they, like in her case, she had an affair with her professor. So she has an affair with the professor and she's obsessed with him. Now that I can tell that she's got mental stuff. She did admit to me that she had some mental things going on. The thing is that she followed him to his house. She drove 24 hours to his parents' house on Thanksgiving and knocked on the door. And he's like, no, you can't come in. And she's like, but I love you. And he's like, no. So stalker, kind of crazy, whatever. If you were to meet her, you would be like, she would, oh my God, I would never think that would happen. Just like this bitch. So this is what happens. She has to call her pastor dad, who knew she was fornicating and doing dumb shit on Thanksgiving. He comes out. She kept using words like, my dad is my savior. Religion has now saved me. This movement that I'm doing, the political party, has now saved me. So she feels like she made all of these shameful decisions and everybody shamed her. So her redemption is going out and fighting for all of these things. but I could tell as she was speaking to me, it didn't seem like, from what I was picking up, it didn't seem like she actually believed it herself. And I don't know if you've ever, I mean, obviously you have, you've been around. You've met those people that sound like they're trying to convince themselves, not you. She didn't sound like she was trying to convince me. She sounded like she was trying to convince herself.
Convince
So I
herself.
do
Yeah.
know, yeah, I know that these type of women are not, I don't believe at the root of a lot of who they are, they actually believe what they're saying, but they get this praise. And I'm looking at this girl's Instagram daily, so I see this. She's like, she is, now that I think about it, she is probably considered traditionally pretty because she's in this like thing and she's like, oh my gosh, Tucker Carlson was at this event this weekend and they're taking photos together. And she's like, got her hair all done and the makeup and she's on this pedestal. And she's like, and she tells me, she like texts me one day, she's like, oh my gosh, my boss found a way for me to stay here so I don't have to leave and go back to Virginia. So I can stay here and they're going to like find me to do work. And then after this, I'm going to go up to San Francisco and they're going to put me on this TV show. So it's about being like, I just watched this fucking video with Candace Owens.
Can you bring her on
why,
here? Can we bring her on here, please? Pretty please.
I will
Sugar?
ask her. Yeah, I'd love to ask
Yeah,
her to come
bring her
on.
on here.
She's very good at
Bring
talking points. Very
bring her on
respectful.
here. Bring,
That would be great. I think that would be great. And she's very
I
respectful.
don't care because I'm not. Okay, like I am, but I'm not. Right?
Then
like
I would because
I'm
of her
super
mental
nice
health.
to you.
Then I don't know that I would be able to do that. Then
I get. Look,
she's
that's why I probably
got a
wouldn't want to be the one to talk
trauma
to her.
past.
No, I get that, right? And mental health is a serious issue, right?
Yeah.
But you're also impacting the mental health of others by giving them the wrong solution to something that is a real problem. God cannot fix your mental health.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the short version of what I should have said. But yeah, exactly. That's what I gathered from her. She was trying to redeem herself with this political revolution. And a lot of Christian people I'm seeing do this. There are these men that I see all over the internet that feel shame for watching pornography all the time that their wives have caught them in. So you'll see them posting these pro-life, all that shit. They're so in shame that they're just preaching all day. And I put up a post one day and I said, those who preach the loudest have the most fucked up skeletons in their closet when it comes to Christians. And all of a sudden, what happened was I saw my number count go down, and I have a little thing that shows me who unfollowed me. And I was like, I fucking knew it. I had told Sinjin, I was like, these dudes, some of these are your friends that I met. They are weirdos that have all this shit that we know about. And they're preaching the loudest because they're trying to cover up their own internal self-hate that their church has been telling them that their church has taught them is not okay. And I saw it with the Mormon church, the Christian church. So yeah, those who yell the loudest got some shit to hide from what I've seen.
No, and you're not, again, you're not wrong. And like look, fire has to be fought with fire. You can try to put water on it, and obviously I'm being metaphorical because scientifically speaking, water does fire. But you can try to contain the fire with water, right? But a lot of times when they put out these big fires, they literally burn other parts of the woods down with a controlled fire in order to keep the crazy fire from spreading. So I have what I like to call controlled fire here. But if like I am all for, bringing someone on to talk about things like that. And maybe I'm naive, like Mikey, I see Mikey in the chat, like he'll disagree with me on this one, but like in this particular case, Mikey might be right about this young lady, because I don't care how respectful you are. You can respectfully call someone the N-word. And when I say respectfully call someone the N-word, I'm saying you can say it where you look polite and you're like, well, but the word N is not really a bad word, and like we should all just be understanding of each other. And but you're still a monster, okay? So your tone, like people focus too much on what their tone is. People come down, oh, Jason, the tone police come down on me all the time. Oh, Jason, you get so animated when you talk about these things. That's because this is something that is worthy of becoming animated about. Doesn't mean I hate you. It doesn't mean that I think that you should be thrown into the dungeon or walked like Siri and shame. What I think is that bad ideas need to be countered, and bad ideas need to be countered with facts and truths. and bringing things back to where the logic is, back to logic. Because if this person actually believes all of these things are going to make America great again, she has to explain what was great in the first place, and
I
then we
don't
can
think
talk
she's
about
that
those
way.
things. So
Yeah, the thing about it is
maybe she's not. Like maybe she's not as bad
No.
as maybe she's bad, maybe she's not. I don't know her. You do, so I'm not going to
Yeah.
prejudge the person. But like if
I think
they're
that she just has
pushing
some
her to take
deep-rooted
her own
trauma,
show,
and
there's a
she's
reason for it.
yeah, I think she's just being used. That's just what's happening.
Well, then she
She's
needs
being
help.
used.
Then she
And
needs
that's
help
something, and
because the people with her
she's
are
got
not
people
trying to
around
help
her.
her.
No, the thing is, she's got people that are going that way. So the way I'll do it this way. I think that because I lost a lot of followers week before last when people were like, "Oh my God, I love this Kim better," and so be it. Fuck y'all. Bye. Peace, bitch. I was fine with that because on Twitter I've had I just talk about creators all day. That's a whole world that is only one world. That is all they see me as. I've only ever been on Twitter as either a TV host that was highly censored, or I've been over there as the creator lady that makes sure nobody can come in my rooms and argue and trip over each other and be disrespectful, racist, whatever. But the moment, because this goes live, this is on live right now. I've already gotten comments right now. That's what I was reading earlier. When this goes live on Twitter, people throw a fucking fit that Kim is not the Kimberly K that they see on Twitter. And I get passionate, I get highlighted, and they're like, "Oh my God, I thought you were like positive and you talk about mindfulness and all of that." We are all multidimensional. We are all multifaceted fucking individuals. And I really think that we got to stop thinking that because someone gets heated or they're loud. Guess what? I just grew up in a fucking loud household with a dad that swears like a fucking sailor or whatever else word. Like that's what I grew up in. And being on the spectrum, that is what my go-to, excited, passionate, want to talk with you. It is not angry in my regard. I can't speak for you. I'm just saying, for me, when I speak like that, I'm just passionate. So many people writing me, these like weird ass men going, "Why are you so angry?" I'm not angry. I literally was just like passionate about what I was fucking saying. But you're
Right.
going to get two different versions of me. So you're going to get, "Oh, welcome to my Twitter space. And today we're going to be talking about XYZ Kim." And then you're going to get, "Yeah, I don't think that's fucking okay." So the reason that I say I don't want to bring this woman on is because I recognize a hurt in her. She told me about some issues of almost taking her life and her brother as well. So I'm not willing
Right.
to put that person in the situation. So I just want to be
Well,
clear.
well,
I'm not
but
against what you're saying, but I am
me-
against this particular situation, and it's just a non-negotiable for me.
no, I get that, and I super respect that, right? So, but here's my counterpunch. I can at the same time have a deep respect for the fact and care about the fact that this person may have some mental things that need to be dealt with and that she needs some help. Okay. And I'm glad it seems like if she at least admits it, there's a good chance that she's getting help. But at the
Oh
same
yeah, she's
time,
getting help.
a lot of the ideas that she is standing on the same side of the aisle as, even if she's not loudly screaming those things, when you stand on the same side of the aisle as certain ideas, you are actively increasing the mental health issues of people on the other side who have been
No one's
pushed,
saying that's not an issue.
right?
The issue is
So,
that this is her life. So
right.
she has to live, right? She
I get
has
that,
to
but that
live.
doesn't mean that she's not, that she doesn't have to, that she doesn't get to, that she gets to say whatever she wants and not have a premise that
No,
can be
absolutely not.
supported.
You're
You know
right.
what I mean? Like you
Like,
still have to
what
be
you're
able to
saying,
say, this is my premise and here's what I'm doing to support that premise.
what you're
And if
saying is
you,
absolutely right. But what I'm saying is, we as podcast talkers, a host,
yeah,
we
talk
have
show is fine too.
yeah, whatever it is. We can ask, you can ask for
Right.
this person to come on and give your thought and say, "This is this," and I can agree with that. But as a
Right.
person who knows the person, I can say, "I'm not willing, after what
Right.
I saw, at this particular juncture to ask that person, because what I believe in as a person who's licensed in trauma recovery that sits next to women who don't come back because they have taken their lives, what I'm getting at is there is a time and there is a way and there is a reading of people, because some people go in all gung-ho. It's all or nothing. You need to talk to everybody right now. Get them on. Do it this. They're all fucking it all up. Well, if you don't get it right with some people, you don't same thing, okay? It's a bad analogy, but it's the only one I can kind of make it. The police have a very, like, some police have this very, like, aggressive way. Like, they're dangerous. They're, you know, there's a gun, there's all this shit. There's no de-escalation in some of these situations. They haven't been taught, or they don't fucking care about the de-escalation situation. So in their brain, they're like, we were taught to just shoot first and think last. There's a better way to go about it. They should be taught that you have to gently approach this person with mental health differently. You have to make sure that, like, schizophrenic's a good example, because she is schizophrenic mildly. You cannot just force them into something without causing maybe a mental health episode. And the problem that I was having with the thought process, with not the problem, but just the pushback I was having, is she has injured people. And if you guys remember, I don't know if I told you guys this, I just let go of how do I say this without getting in trouble? I just let go of a person in my life. I won't say where they were, what they were about, but I just let go of someone who physically attacked me.
That's why I'm here tonight, not Dino. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah. So not Dino. So a person I dearly loved, a person, if you see their Instagram, they look completely put together. They are just happy influencer. And I have a lot of those people in my life, so nobody can pick this person out. So I've been in this person's life forever. They've been in my life in some capacity forever. Texas, I go to Texas, this fucking same trip. I did not find it odd. I found it of the universe that the person I had to let go of was replaced with this woman, because they have very similar thoughts. So on this trip, I had noticed that this person was starting to get a little weird with her comments, talking about she fought like her kind of husband, ex-husband, they weren't really married anyway, it's a complicated thing, followed Alex Jones and all this other stuff. I can't even name anything about him because everybody will know what I'm talking about because they're famous. So anyway, she's like, I don't follow Alex Jones. I think he's, too much and this and that. And she's like, but he says this and there's some things right. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, is she starting to get pulled in by this? She was. So my last trip there, I start hearing things from her that I'm just like, and I knew that she had mental stuff. I had told friends, I know that there's some mental stuff and there's some weird shit going on, and I won't go deeper down the road, but I could see some stuff. Sinjin and I had seen some stuff. We knew that it was crazy town. I was kind of the only person in her life. So I was just like, I got to stay with this person. And what ended up happening was when I finally was like, you know what? I want her to know that this stupid shit is dumb and this is ridiculous and you need to get out of this because you're going down this road and it's dangerous to people and it's hurting people. Guess what happened? She had a little Beretta, I'm not going to go too deep. She had a pistol in her purse that she told me she carried. And I'm like, when the fuck did you start carrying a gun? And she's like this Christian girl and she's an influencer and it's just weird. And I was just like, this is my longest period of time staying in proximity to her. And the last night, so I was there 2 nights longer than I should have been. I told Sinjin, I said, something does not feel right. I'm getting this weird kind of vibe where like I'm angering her. And I'm just angering her with just my own being, just my own walking, just who I am, just who I'm talking like. I don't understand it. And so I'm like, this is weird. I'm getting Selena, and Selena's like, Selena, Latina Selena, and her like manager lady vibes, single white female vibes. I'm getting this weird vibe. And he's like, well, it's cheaper to fly home this day. And I was like, I don't fucking care. We got money. He's like, well, it's cheaper to fly. And like, we forgot about it. So I was like, okay, I'll stay the 2 days. The last night, I should not have been there. And I felt it coming. We all can feel vibes. I'm sure you can feel it from your family, your wife, or anybody you've been married to or not married to or whatever in life, people's relationships, right? You can feel people's energy. I felt it coming. And all I did was I mentioned something. She asked me a question about what I thought about this type of stuff. And I said, I think this dude, her ex thing, I said, I think it's fucking nuts. I just like this. I was talking like this. I think he's fucking nuts. Anybody who even believes in his stuff, like, I just think he's nuts. Like, that's just crazy to me. And I was just like, you got to get away from that. I'm glad you left. I'm glad you're back here and you're doing your thing and y'all aren't together and you're not married because you never filed papers and all this other shit. Nobody knew about it, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, I just want to stop talking about him. And I go, okay, then just tell me that, because that's how I communicate. Tell me how you would like to communicate. If you don't want to talk about it anymore, I say, okay, I walk away. I was like, then just tell me that. She goes, okay, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I could hear this like guttural, like, ugh. And I was like, so I go to the bathroom and I have seizures, if some people know, and they come off, they're like these trauma, stress seizure kind of situations sometimes. And I go to the bathroom, I come back, and I was like, I call my friend who used to be my coach, and I have her like on my AirPods, and you can see with hair down, you can't see them. So I said, can you record? Because I don't know what's going on. So she's like, yeah, and you need to get out. I just called someone, a friend of ours, to come get you. And basically what happens is he's on his way. But she also had the wherewithal to just go ahead and think, I need to call the police because what I'm hearing does not seem right. And she felt like there was going to be an episode of something. Now, I'm still thinking, I've loved this person a really long time, and no one even knows that I've not seen this person, so they don't know who it is, but family. But what happens is I walk over and I say, I think it's best that I leave. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm in Austin. And I said, I think it's best that I leave. I'm going to go stay with a friend of ours, Todd, tonight. And she's like, okay, but it's because of your pride. And I just sort of quickly snapped back because, like, we talked about this last time in high school. I was called Double Clap Kim. Like, no, we're not. Like, what we ain't going to do. I would be that kind of person. So I kind of snapped back. You know, I reverted back to that kind of thing. And I was like, bitch, what we're not going to do right now is gaslight me. And I was like, whoa. So I just said, you know, I'm so sorry. Let me just tone it down, back up. And I go to pack my stuff and I start to kind of cry because I'm, you know, especially on the spectrum, when we get frustrated, we have tears, we get emotional. I wasn't sad. I was just like confused. Go to the bathroom. And as I go to walk to the bathroom, I just feel my body being lifted. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I'm not going to say anything because then it's too much. Okay. So I'm being lifted. And all I know is I hit the back of the front door and then I fall into her fridge and I fall and I have a seizure. The seizures I have, I am awake for them, but I can't move. They're paralyzed. So I can hear everything. She's talking to herself, but she's not talking to herself. She's talking to some other person of herself. Oh my God, no, 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 no. Look what you did to, and I can't say what she called me because then everybody will know. But anyway, look what you did to, and no, 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 no. And see what you did? You always did this. You see what you did? Now we have to fix it. She picks me up, puts me on the bed, and the police are coming at that point, the EMTs, because of seizure and all that. When they get there, this other version of her comes out. Oh my gosh, we were talking and she wanted to argue. And I said, I don't want to talk anymore. And she wanted to argue and she stressed herself out and she had this thing. And they were like, that would happen. And I was like, yep. And they were like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, I think that's what happened. And they're like, do you remember what happened? And I was like, no, I don't. I did. But I was not about to be like, yeah, because this bitch has a fucking gun in her purse and she's already tried to kill, like, hurt other people before. So I was like, what is my recourse here? What am I going to do here? I realized kid gloves, baby step it. Me surviving the situation, her surviving the situation is bigger. I know that was a long story long to tell this story, but I know that a lot of people on Twitter in the mental health space follow what our podcasts because I've seen the comments. The reason that I'm tying these in to what's going on tonight, because we have this platform, we might as well use it to tie it in. So it's not to go against what you said. I agree with what you said. For most people, I think that you need to call them on their shit. You need to say that you're doing more harm than good. Just because you have mental illness, you don't have the right to choose your life over millions of other people and what a global, national to global situation could turn out with elections and everything that comes with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I back you. But I have seen too often people lose their lives and many other people being pushed into a conversation, being pushed into something where they feel shamed or they feel a certain way. And I think that Republicans are very good at the long game. I saw this with the Mormon church. They're very good at the pacing themselves. They're not in your face, right? I mean, Christians, sure, but they're not in your face immediately. And yes, the right wing MAGAs and all that have been, but the long game matters. So to clarify, anybody who understands what I stand for, I don't let people get passes. So I want people to know I agree with Dutch. I think that we do need to call people out. I would love to have other people like this on the show, but considering the history that is so fresh of what I know her life to be, would not see this as anything good for anybody, because after the podcast, she moves on, we move on, but there could be very big danger for her and the people around her. And I do know right now she's getting help, and it's my hope that I can just continue to be there, continue to maybe have, I told her, I texted her when we were talking that I was going to be talking about stuff. And she said, that's okay as long as you're not using my name or what I do position wise, so that if she did see this, she wasn't triggered. So it's not like I'm not, letting her know even of that. So you can see the extra
Sure.
layers that I'm going to. So I just wanted to let people know that before the trolls come for us, that I've talked to you for 5 hours. You are a very, very big mental health advocate. I know that about you. So I don't want anyone to believe that I was saying hard no negotiation, and coming in at a different time and they didn't hear what you said before and your reasoning. So I just wanted to kind of give the backstory of what I've seen pushing someone that is unhealthy to layers and levels. And then on your side, knowing that you absolutely back a person's mental health. But on the other side, I absolutely agree that there's a bigger picture to be had here, and you can't hide behind diagnosis and things of that nature. But in this case, there are some schizophrenia and things like that. And what I would hate is a woman to come on this podcast, go up against you, who is not mean, but you know your shit. And for a person that is surrounding yes people, okay, and she's used to yes people, and she's used to arguing regurgitated points, to come up against someone like you, she would be destroyed and it would tear her apart. And you wouldn't be mean doing it. It's just the very act of you telling her the truth. That cognitive dissonance wears down with people with mental health. It wears down and it wears down. And when that veil drops, it's the wizard behind the curtain. There's no wizard, just a fucking old ass man. That fucks with people's minds. And I just don't want someone to get hurt at home, a roommate, a person. So that was that. And, just take that as a little internal PSA on mental health there, guys. As we veered topics there for a second. But that's where it's coming from. So, and I didn't feel like I needed to speak for you on mental health or anything. I just know you. And I know people that are watching my Twitter don't know you. Maybe some of them don't know you. So I will now let you speak for yourself.
You don't want to know me, Twitter. No, and I appreciate that. I'll tell you, we got we're at about 2.5. Let's finish up our we got a few more minutes on this. We kind of got sidetracked, but I love getting sidetracked with dear Kimberly K. And here's her, who she called her twin. You don't look like her. But here, what are you trying to say? All blonde girls look alike? All blonde girls don't look like. There you go. I think before we got in our 20-minute tangent, I predicted that cheer. But anyway.
Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi.
I love how she combines the three of them. That's actually quite smart.
That's what I said. Remember?
Although there's
psychology.
There's no connection between. Well, actually,
just gaslighting.
There is, but here's the funny thing: Chris Pappas, Nancy Pelosi, and Joe Biden are probably very close on economic policy. But she's not talking about economic policy. She's talking about, this is where it's so crazy. She's talking about the social issues, and I guess immigration is an economic policy in a way. But outside of that scope, she's talking about all of the cultural issues and the social issues part of it. She's not talking about the economics, because her solution to the economics is not going to end up being any different than the same things that Pappas would have voted for. Unless she's going to go super extreme and say we should abolish income tax or something like that altogether, because there are people that say that, but I highly doubt she has such an extreme platform. But anyway.
Waged war on our domestic energy production. Eversource just told us our electric bills will be 4 times higher this coming year.
Blame the corporations.
The Biden administration warned New England leaders that we will have a home heating oil shortage this winter. As your Congresswoman in January of 2023, I will fight to reinvigorate our domestic energy production, making America a net exporter of oil once again, as we did under President Trump.
It's painful how bad that was. Like she didn't say energy independent. A lot of people throw that around. Oh, we were energy independent under Trump. No, we weren't. No, we weren't. We've never been what you would call. What they think that means is they think that means that we produce all of the own energy, all of the energy that we use. America has always been one of at least in recent history, we've been one of the top exporters of petroleum products. We remain so. In fact, a couple weeks ago, the right wing lost their minds because we were selling our oil overseas. We've always sold it overseas because we are a student. Our government is a student. They are a tool of capitalism. And this is not a pro-socialist statement. I'm just saying we sell to the highest bidder. We don't sell to like the most economically diverse or the most needy bidder. We sell to the highest bidder.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, and that's how it goes. And that's how it's always gone so it's very strange to me that people think that, and that just because we don't like fracking is not like the greatest thing in the world. And we don't want to see a shit ton of new pipelines, though we're not like anti-pipeline, but we're anti-unnecessary oil production because we know there's better technology out there and we should invest in that technology. It's very simple. We have better technology that's within our reach, and we should do something to try to use that technology and promote that. But no, oil good, solar bad, and like okay.
Simple terms.
And I will viciously call out the Democrats for their purposeful war on our energy in the name of radical environmental policies like the Green New Deal, as they shamefully beg our adversaries around the globe to provide our fuel. It's disgusting, it's despicable, and it will end when we take back the House in January.
Well, what did I say? What did I say? They're obsessed with a certain type of person.
It's so bad it's laughable.
Oh God.
Oh my God. It's so like I'm still waiting for a piece of policy. She'll get to it. I trust her.
And I think you may know this already, but tonight we made history. And I look forward to serving as the youngest Congresswoman in United States history.
Identity politics. Ah.
As many of you know, my youth is one of the many reasons that I felt compelled to run for Congress in the first place. Because it's my generation of Americans, your children, your grandchildren, who are not being served well by the current state of our education system, our media, and our entire culture.
Hey, I agree. You must have the exact same. Repeat that, please, for me. Where are we at? 1305. So let's go back to 1254. Here we go.
Generation of Americans, your children, your grandchildren, who are not being served well by the current state of our education system.
You're absolutely right. Our education system is terrible. You're going to tell us in a minute how we should stop relying on property taxes to fund local schools, because that adds to the economic inequality that we experience when one kid gets a better education than another one who might happen to live in a more economically depressed area. You're going to tell us that we should start teaching actual American history instead of a whitewashed version of history that only talks about the good things that America did and doesn't open up any conversation for critical thinking or common civil discourse. That's what you're going to tell us about education. I can't wait to hear it. I'm so excited.
Our media.
Yes, you're going to tell us how our media has done the exact same thing as I just talked to about the schools, and how our media loves corporations, their donors, so much that they'll never ever go against any element of corporate regulate of you know, that they'll never go for any element of corporate regulation, because that would be so serving of the people that it would throw a rock in the face of those corporations, right? You're going to tell us that.
And our
Totally.
entire culture. Pappas, Pelosi, and the Democrats are more focused on pushing radical gender ideologies and critical race theory in our school curriculum than pushing our children to be critical thinkers and experts at reading and writing and math.
Do I even need to say anything there? I don't think I do.
I just think that stands alone.
I'm
I'm sorry,
surprised she didn't
I
mention
can't.
the
I didn't watch this before, by the way. It's like a
Neither did
reaction
I.
video for me because Dino watched it first and I thought it was a small clip. He played it for me and then he stopped. So like I'm floored. I'm going to have to process this and take this in because this is something that I was not prepared for. And I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised, but I do want to take back my comment. We don't look alike. There's nothing about that bitch that is common. Like, I'm not claiming that. No more. Like, no more. Like, no more. When you said, no, you don't, I was like, that's not a big deal. And I'm not talking about her looks. I'm talking about, I don't stand for any of what she's saying. Like, I'm really shocked at people's ability to just come up and lie. No, I'm not going to say that Democrats don't lie, progressive don't. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm just in general saying, my daughter wants to go into some form of politics or something. Her dad was in politics. He was the youth governor. Okay, I'm not going to say what state. I have to watch for a lot of stuff. I have to watch so much of my stories here. But, you know, it's just like I'm having a really hard time understanding, again, I don't know if this is just common sense or if this is autistic speaking. So you tell me how you think. How is this not obviously bullshit? How is this not easy for people that have been doing their research on these things to go, what? It sounds like there's a lot of yes people in the crowd because there's, I mean, when she was speaking earlier, one thing I did notice, there was a lot of talking. It's like when I've seen like an okay band and they're at a club and everybody's just talking and no one's listening to the band compared to when you go to a concert and it's like, you know, Metallica and you're not talking, you're fucking watching Metallica, or you're watching the guy that like has been in a band for like 6 years and he gets paid, or 16 years and he just gets paid like, you know, $35 with some drink tickets and everybody just keeps talking. At the beginning, I just kept hearing a bunch of people talk. So I don't know that they were like watching her until someone was like, hey, you got to like clap on these points. Okay. Like we need you to like, no, this is going to be viewed on YouTube and we're going to put it up. You need to clap on these points because the very beginning was very different. And then that guy started yelling the whole socialist or anti-white and all that. And it's grown. Like at the beginning, you know, even when she said, I have something to announce, we're doing this song, blah, blah, blah. It was just like, woo, like this. But now it's gained this amped up energy. And that's what I have seen with these MAGA events and these types of mentalities is they really amp them up. I mean, she could be sitting there going, the alien ship is coming for us. And they'll be like, fuck yeah, it is. That's it. Like it's all a psychological amp up because they're giving those endorphins. They're giving all of that energy. Everybody in that room is like, yeah. And everybody watching at home is like, oh my gosh, she speaks for me. No, she doesn't. And I can tell you about people that come from car dealerships, caveats to people that are great people. But a lot of people that I've known and I've worked with that their parents own car dealerships, you know, they have a lot of fucking money. And they come from very like, I need to protect my money only. And they definitely are not hurting for anything if they're doing it right. There's no struggle. So to even, I did see some comments where they were like, well, she's been through some stuff too, like AOC, you know, you don't know what her life's been like. I don't, but I can just tell you AOC working her family business and putting herself through school and doing all of that from nothing to this woman's privilege in life and some of the things that are going on there, they cannot be compared. Like they just can't. And what I'm hearing right now doesn't even sound like she just threw out the new Green Deal. New Green Deal? Green New Deal. And this is what I was saying earlier at the beginning, and then I'll stop. I'll land my plane here. But I just keep seeing them take, okay, this is who we want to target. We see AOC as a rising candidate in the progressive world of politics and making some movements. So what we're going to do is we're going to find someone that can become similar to that in our world, because we don't believe that she's similar, but their world does. Their world's like, oh, you think AOC can talk? Look at our girl. She can talk. Look at her points. And so they're taking shots. Like she mentioned that on purpose. And like I said at the beginning, it was a psychological thing to pair Pappas with Pelosi and you said
Biden,
it afterwards as well. And Biden, this is a psychological thing that they do. So the whole reason I wanted to do this episode tonight when we talked about it was I wanted to bring awareness to watching how they move so that we can somehow figure out how to get in front of it, stay in step with it, figure something out in that regard, because we haven't always done a great job of that.
Yeah, and I mean, we can continue to watch this. I don't think we need to because
I'm good.
Because it's clear.
I don't want to give more time to anybody.
I'll tell you what. I will watch this later myself, and if she talks about policy one time, I will start a stream and apologize to everyone. But she's not going to talk about any policy. They'll reference things they're going to fight for, but this is the difference that you see between candidates on the left and on the right. And I guess it's got to be true of the younger generation as well, because if I were to pull up a Maxwell Frost video, right? Maxwell Frost is a Gen Z candidate who won his congressional primary in Florida against an incumbent Democrat. He's going into the general, and he's probably going to win big time. So he's actually going to Congress. This woman, I don't know who she's going up against. Maybe I'll get her opponent on. But her opponent's probably in big trouble because he's being outraised. She's at 2 million almost. But nonetheless, progressives, Gen Z progressives like Ray Reid, like Maxwell Frost, like Sam Lawrence, who's been on our show, 19-year-old who's running for state level office in I forget state off the top of my head. But these folks, Ohio, these folks, they talk about nothing but policy. They might talk about how their opponent voted against stuff. They might talk about how their opponent, who funds their opponent. But that stuff is relevant because if you're funded by fossil fuel, you're going to vote in favor of fossil fuel. That's obvious. If you're funded by pharma, you're going to vote in favor of pharma. That's obvious. If you've got a shitty voting record, you're probably going to continue to have a shitty voting record. But they'll talk about things like, we need to raise the minimum wage. We need to have universal health care. We need to do this, that, and the other. We need things, not the Green New Deal per se, but we need elements of the Green New Deal to be implemented into actual policy, because the Green New Deal is not policy. It was a thesis paper.
Say that earlier.
It's not legislation.
Yeah, people get mad when I say, like, it's okay for us to give constructive feedback to people that we admire. It's okay for us to give, even if she didn't mean it as such. Yeah. There's a point where somebody's got to take in certain newcomers and say, hey, this will maybe get a little bit more help if you go this way and you do it this way and you actually put the work into it, because I don't think actually a lot of people knew that it was a thesis paper, honestly. And I mean, good on that it even was that. That's a better fucking thesis than a lot of things I've seen. But again, there just doesn't seem to be, the issue that I always have is the structure. And I get hated on so much about this. But as I said, coming from the Republican side of what I worked in with campaigns at a very young age. So the statute of limitations to hate me for this is gone. So y'all can F off.
You will be the judge of that.
Yeah, I was head of Teenage Republicans. I don't know what was going on there. But
Hey, I
the
was a
thing is,
Republican. You know this. I was.
well, and I honestly, I didn't even know what I was there for. I just was there because that was the friends that I was around. Like my
I was there
parents weren't
because
a
my mom and
Republican.
dad were Republicans, and therefore I thought everyone who's a good person should be a Republican.
Well, and I fall into my parents weren't anything. And so I thought, well, okay, I'll go with what my friends groups are. So that's where I went. And also I was in Young Lawyers of America. So that's why I speak a lot to the psychology of this, because they gave me a lot of attention you can debate well, you can speak well. Kimberly's going to be the one that takes the lead on these things. So now we're going to make her head of Teenage Republicans. We're going to push her over into that too. So I was like, oh, this is where I like this. Like, I finally have friends. I was on the spectrum I'm on the spectrum. So I didn't have any friends till 10th grade. So for me, I can see why some of these people fall into, I belong here. They're letting me be seen and heard. It's cult-like mentality. It's what we see. It's what we talked with Lindsay about last show. It's that people are finding a place to belong, a place for their voice to be heard, a place where they don't get shamed. And I have to continuously talk to my son about this. You are a white male with privilege. The world is going to make some statements that you might think are against you personally as Jaden. It's not, if you're not that person, you don't have to worry about it. So don't be that person. So when someone says, I fucking hate white men because this is what they do, old white men, blah, 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 all the time. Are you an old white man that's doing that? No. Okay, then. So I think it's like, it's just an interesting dynamic to watch people that have to find a place, they want to find a place to belong. There's much more involved in all of this ever than politics. And that I'm always going to be that voice of reason and that person saying, look at all the rest of the other parts of what's going on. Yeah, that's my stance. I mean, I have more I wanted to say tonight, but I have a family emergency that's happening. So I'm going to have to check out up here pretty soon.
Well, go ahead and close us out. It's your show, not mine.
No, I've loved you. I've loved having you here. Dino said in the chat earlier, that's why I wrote you. And he was like, I would love to see you and Dutch just, back and forth, because he knows that we're very passionate. Dino has a very much like, he's like, but what about this? Well, hold on. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
He has a very just laid back kind of thing. And then he's like, fire up Kim. That's his new thing, is like, I want to see this Kim. Let's get Kim fired up. And then she'll speak.
Dino, I'll tell Dino, Usain Bolt is really fast. He'll be like, but what if I tied his shoelaces together? Then I'll bet you I'd win.
The contrarian type, the brain that's always like, but let me see it the other way. I used to be that too. I used to be kind of contrarian based, where I'd be like, but wait a minute. And then I'd ask myself later, because I have a child that does it. I won't say which one, but I have a child that does that too. And I used to ask myself growing up afterwards, why did I do that? I didn't even actually agree with what I said. I'd be like, well, I don't know. You don't know. Like a friend would say something and I would be like, but you don't know. Like, the sky is blue. Is it? Because maybe it's refracting.
Oh, the existentialist.
Yeah, I was like that. It was a contrarian.
Or the nihilist.
It was like
the nihilist existentialist weirdos.
I guess, and for me, I think it was ego, and that's another show for another time. But I think it was some sort of narcissistic tendency or an ego, not a narcissist, because God, we label everybody.
No, we all are on the narcissism spectrum.
Exactly.
Everybody, yeah.
So can we all just admit that? Hands up, do that,
yes,
do that.
I'm on it.
Sworn in. We're sworn in. So we've got that. But what I'm speaking of, if I ever speak of narcissism in a negative way, it's somebody that's on the narcissistic personality disorder, and it's become a mental issue and abuse has happened, and it's way bad. When I say part of me was this narcissistic, whatever, I think it was a coping mechanism for having to overcome the autism and all of that, because nobody called me dumb because I was smart. I definitely had high IQ and scholarships and all of that, but there was just something about the contrarian nature of, I have to prove myself is more smarter than they are. And I don't know why I did it. I've been to therapy. I'm not wasting any more money on it. So y'all can DM me if maybe why you think I did that. But this was what I did for a while, from ages 16 to about 25, where every time there's a point or a discussion, I'd be like, I don't think that's what's happening. You don't know. And then later I'd be like, why the hell did you do that? So Dino is not that. I want to make clear that I'm not making a comparison. Just wanted to say that sometimes it's important to have someone kind of go, but are they? Because I already know his phrases. But is that happening? I'm not sure about that. Like he has that very like easy way of making you question and think about it for a second. And why I love that style is it makes you back up what you're talking about. You can't just say it. You can't just bullshit your way through it. You got to back it up. And he knows that we can back it up here. You're always going to back it up. Like you're not coming to an argument without knowing your shit. I try my best to do it as well. But I want to add a caveat. We did say a lot of opinions tonight. There might be some areas that were wrong. So please DM me. I was going off notes. I will try to put in the little recap thing that I'm going to put on Twitter, the links to those studies and all those articles that I did reference, because I want to make sure that I spoke correctly on that and you all can do your own research and you can educate yourself. So for those that DM'd me like, hey, where's that study? Or you just speaking bullshit? No, I will send it. And if I got something wrong, I'll own it now and just make sure that I don't think I got anything wrong because I read it straight off here. So I don't think I got anything wrong. But just saying, if I ever do, you can call me on it and I will admit to it. Having said that, Dutch, thank you so much for jumping in. But more so, thank you so much for being a leader of Dig on America. Thank you for keeping us in that motivated place of,
Mikey,
even
Mikey might hear you. Shh.
Oh,
Mikey might hear
thank you so much for that. But also, if I could just throw a thanks out to Mikey, because I don't know Mikey very well. Like we're all like very, I'm just like trying to get to know everybody. And there's Mikey. But I did say it before the comment. I said I want to throw a shout out to Mikey. Okay, I just want credit for that because I'm on the back channel, so I didn't see the comments to my side. But what I would like to say is, thanks to Mikey as well, like the embracing nature of Dig on America, of even people y'all don't agree with, that I've seen you not agree with. I have really appreciated becoming part of this. And I do look forward to learning more from you, more from Mikey, more than anyone, honestly. Mikey's the one I look up to the most. Like he's the one I have a shrine of in my bedroom. No, just kidding. He is
very tall. He's remarkably tall when you meet him in person. Yeah, he's probably like 6'1".
Yeah, he kind of reminded me of Sinjin.
He looks like looks like 5'1" on stream.
No, he
doesn't.
He's
like 6'1". Yeah,
That's not true. That's rude. He doesn't to me. That's so rude. Mikey,
for those of you who are,
do you like me as a person yet? Am I giving enough compliments? I'm a people pleaser. I'm like, please. But I appreciate what you guys are doing.
No, thank you.
So catch us up on all your shows.
By us, you mean us.
Us.
So tomorrow, Lindsay and I will be doing our first episode together.
Okay.
Lauren and Brent. Yeah, Fridays. I think we're gonna do 8:30 Pacific tomorrow PM.
Okay.
But you'll know when you follow us on Twitch because you get a notification. And then 5:30 Sunday, Lauren Hubbard show. Tune in for that. They'll have more awesome candidates on. One of the things we try to do when we grow this channel is to raid another channel. We only have about 6 people on right now, but we're going to use that anyway. So please, please, please hold with us for about 45 seconds. It really helps us out as we end the show here. We will try to raid another channel here because if we raid them, they might raid us. So let me get us going here. We'll just raid Echoplex because they've done it for us before. So
what I love to do is I like to educate people, and a lot of people are newcomers to Twitch and all that. Can you just give a quick rundown of what a raid is? Because I don't know either.
Raid is, Twitch is a unique animal. YouTube, on YouTube, you can go on to a YouTube channel and watch it. And when the video is over, even if it's a live show on YouTube, it just ends. On Twitch, there are other shows going on. Sometimes you become, my phone started ringing. Sometimes you become, it's Mikey. Let's see what he wants. That's one person we'll answer for. So, hi, Mikey.
Raid Ken.
I was just thinking about rating Tim, but yeah, we'll do that. Okay, we'll raid Tim. Yeah, I'm already there. I'm already there. I'm already on him. Thank you, Mikey. So anyway, let me finish my statement. So the difference with Twitch as an animal is that at the end of your show, you can pick another show on Twitch and hit raid. And if you're watching this show, you will then immediately go to watch that show. You stay there for 2-3 minutes. If you like it, great. If you hate it, leave. Okay. So when we do that for other shows, we're a super small show because we're new on Twitch. So that's why we want people to watch us on Twitch, because the more people we can raid other channels with, if we raid a big channel and they're like, hey, fuck Dig on America, they'll check us out. And then they'll raid us with hundreds or thousands of people. Literally.
Okay. I'm just taking some notes down because I didn't know what that was.
And we're probably not going to get rated by someone with hundreds or thousands in the beginning. But like, you might get somebody who's got 200 people watching their show instead of 7 like we do. So, but who knows? They might reciprocate. Maybe they won't. But that's kind of the idea, is you can build the community and expand your reach by helping other people. So, so the more people we can get, Constance, that's why we need you on Twitch. So sign up on Twitch, please, Lamar. So we will do that. What we got here. We lost a couple people. I was ranting, but we will do that right now. So Kim, if you'd like to say a final word, and then we'll go.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that rundown. So as always, from Dutch, the Dig on America family, and Dino, thank you, Dutch, for jumping in tonight. No one can take Dino's spot, but you did a good job of being you, which is all we ask for. For those of you that want to find us, look at Dig on America most everywhere. And for me, it's Dear Kimberly K. For Dino, it's at Dino Moore Films, Moore Films. So Dino Moore Films on Twitter. You can find both of us there. We're going to start updating things there. You can also find me on all the other social media places, because we're going to start posting some reels that you can share to all of your people, and all these little points. So some of these places where Jason said certain things, you can share out into the universe. So you can find that on Instagram. We're going to have a Breaking Barriers Instagram up soon, and we'll also be putting things on Dig on America. So we're just excited for the things coming forward. For those of you who've asked about anything that we needed going forward, we just need you to spread the word, exposure. And also anybody that you want to see on the show, this is a community effort. This is a community effort, right? So please send us who you want us to reach out to. And if you have anybody that you are close to, and you feel like they would be probably more receptive to you talking to them, send them out a quick message. You can tag me, you can tag Dino, you can tag the show Dig on America, and we would love to get them on. At the end of the day, we're all doing this together. We're all learning together. We're just sharing our experiences and opinions, with the caveat that ours are better than everybody else's. But we do thank you for coming. We know that we're all new here at this, and we know that you could be anywhere else, but you chose to be here with us tonight. So thank you so much, and I look forward to my first raid. I'll see you guys next week.
All righty. So we are rating that channel. And you and I are still here, but you will see that basically ends the show. So does that raid go through? Oh, here we go. All right, now the raid going through. Boom. Okay, now the raid goes through, and that should stop the stream. But it doesn't stop the stream, which is weird. Let me try it again here. Did I not raid them? Oh, no, we did raid them. Okay. I thought it was going to stop the stream. Maybe it must keep it going on YouTube. So let's end